Base.
That was very delayed. You know what though? I want to see this video.
I'll pass. I think it'd be great. I'm not gonna lose sleep over it.
I wanted to see the alleged breakdancing video of.
There's some breakdancing videos.
I showed it to you.
You did?
I'll show it again.
I don't.
My TikTok.
Sharif breakdancing?
Okay, send that to me. Send that to me. All right, send that to me. I want to.
We'll put it on the show.
Yeah, well, yeah, I want to be able to see it. And then the video was just talking about the skit of the guy pretending to be like the one Chinese spy who was in control.
I don't know that.
I don't know that one, but I want to see it as well. So welcome back.
YouTube over
the
here.
Playmaker. When the market's down, so it is what it is. Obviously, we usually try mentioning that story about Rio and Glencore, just sort of watching Rio Tinto to the downside, down 2%. But the real story, I mean, yes, the ES is down 0.3, and whoops, the NASDAQ down 0.5, but wow, Apple 3.8% to the downside.
Yeah, what's up with that?
It's not so much that Apple's down, it's the way that it's down today. Like, this is, I mean, different. You know, like, that's the best way to think about it. Like, this is very different from any normal price action that you would see in Apple, even on weekdays, right? Like, if you look at the last time it had a bad day, go back to the 10th, or last Friday, like, there were some pretty sizable bounce plays in the morning. Like, at lunchtime, like, look at the bid that it catches, and you look at it the day after. You can have big down mornings in Apple. The lack of bounce is distinctly different from what we're used to seeing here, down 229 and looking still nasty. The shorts are 11 some Apple, number 3 in China, so they say, and this time I guess they mean it. And we always talk about, like, you should have sold at the top of these things, but hindsight being 2020, the 200 period moving average, which has been pretty good on Apple, maybe we got to start thinking about that. I can't think of a Mag 7 name that is going to be testing the 200 period moving average in less than $10. Like, you get another day like this, and we're talking about the 200 on Apple. That's why that's the only reason I was mentioning I'm mad that I didn't sell any, because I feel like that's an obvious buy zone on Apple.
Yeah, 216. Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, 16 or 17. Yeah, whatever.
In there, 216, 215.
Distinction without a difference.
Yeah. No, great. I mean, I like the level too. And I think that's important to understand. Like, you gotta pick and choose, right? When you're playing this game, like, you know, some levels are gonna hold, some levels aren't. You know, Amazon was a good example. We actually hit that when we came back from lunch there, and yeah, huge move there on Amazon, back up through 222. But then when it lost it was see you later. Try to reverse, should have been reversed into that short there, AMZN, watching out to see what that's going to do now. Maybe find a base down here at 220. So I think this is the one long that right now I'm trying to find. We are down 0.5%. Sure, it's a give back day from yesterday. You know, we can see that. It's unfortunate that that is happening, but it is happening. And you're going to have these ebbs and flows back and forth from day to day. We're still up from where we were yesterday on many names. So, you know, look at it like that. But at the end of the day, yeah, it's a little bit, you know, it doesn't feel the greatest, I don't think, today to be caught from some of those levels yesterday. We had some TikTok. We were just talking about it with Meta and all that kind of stuff. They're down a little bit here today as well. Not too far from their highs. This could be a good name to look at. Again, not too far back from its highs, could make new highs. NVIDIA just bounced right now off 133. So there are some, you know, there are going to be some trades that are going to be available. It's just getting out of the way of these longs early on were really key. And we're able to survive some of these dips by just punching out and having that risk management. Yeah. So no more important of a day is today for looking at and analyzing risk.
And it's not like, look, not everything is bad. Let's not get it too twisted in here. TSM's still up 4.5%. AMAT and ASML and some of those suppliers, Lam, they're all still strong. SoFi's up 5 points today. You got some quantum names like doing pretty well. So it's not all bad, but like the real question is the market going to be able to do a bit of a spin and find its way around higher?
You
know, I don't remember seeing this. Yo, that's legit.
Let's see the guy's face. Let me see if this is Sharif.
I mean,
that was Sharif.
Yeah, that was Sharif. Wow, okay, that's legit, man. Like, I didn't see that before. 1999. Wow. Yes.
Yeah. Nice, 1999. Yeah, I was doing that in 1999. No, I was not. Yeah, shout out to Sharif
99.
there. Yeah,
Wow.
doing big things.
Taking it way back.
Taking it way back playbacks there.
We'll take it. We'll take it.
Yeah, good. Awesome, Sharif. Thanks for sharing that for sure. Yeah, so, okay, 135. Welcome, everybody. Major expiry tomorrow. Third Friday. No, tomorrow's not the third. Oh, yeah, tomorrow's the third Friday. Yeah,
Already at the
is
third
it?
Friday?
No.
Yeah, it is.
Is it the third Friday?
It is the third Friday, the 17th, because we started, Wednesday was the first. I just happened to have a calendar up. I did not know that off the top of my head, the Wednesday was the first, but I didn't remember it. But no, it is the third Friday. It is an expiration, but the first third Friday, but I don't know if it's going to be a gigantic one for sure. Oh, Kyle, it's a $10 super chat. So, sure, I don't know where Sharif is, but I'm obliged to read this, Sharif, because we got a super chat from Kyle Burdett. Plot twist: Sharif still lives in that same basement. That was a very nice. Sharif still lives in that same basement.
We sold the house, bro. It's
a good-looking basement. It's a nice-looking basement. It was finished. I'm pretty sure. I think I saw like a little bit of a beanbag down there as well. Nice finish on the stairs. I think. I couldn't really tell. I wasn't really looking that much at it, but that's better. It's a better finish than my basement. That's for sure. No question about that. So shout out to you, Sharif. Kyle Burdett's always a little bit of fun.
I have one thing to say when I see that video. Get it, Sharif.
I was waiting for that. Because I don't say you guys say that. I don't say that you guys say that.
When I see that video, All right. So, yeah, we're getting ready to rock and roll. We are going to go over all of the names that you guys asked us to. So we'll do that in a rundown. You're getting a nice little bounce here in the market for sure. 133 up to 135. It's almost $2 straight up here in the market. So a nice little move right now to the upside on NVDA. We'll wait to see where we're going with it, but it looks like it wants to get higher into the 200 period moving average. If we're thinking about going short, there are going to be spots, and it might be right now on NVIDIA. If you're looking to go short, I would maybe wait for 136 in and around VWAP. I think I'm going to try a VWAP short on NVDA if we continue this sort of trajectory upside there, just to play the weakness in the market still, see if we give it back. We've been looking for some shorts for a minute, so let's try that again here on, not again, but for the first time on NVDA. Hopefully we'll be able to catch something here. Maybe shorting just we could start it now, but pretty light if we do it. I'm gonna wait for 136, but on radar right now and on watch for me is this NVIDIA level, 136 to short. So that's what I'm looking at right now.
Get it?
Yeah, get it, Sharif.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Very, very serious. Getting it.
Are we ready to go to Sharif? Because Too Simple just asked. Oh well, we'll get to some questions after. We'll have some time to talk about energy and Oxy. I'm thinking at some point I saw a question about Oxy. Yeah, but let's get to Sharif and see what you guys did want to talk about. It's got to be, like, I'm sure Apple's got it.
Must be.
It's on there now. Welcome, everyone, to the Afternoon Rundown, the show where you decide what we talk about every day. Neil and Sean locked and loaded, ready to look at the tickers as decided by you. So join Joe and I during the How to Trade show during the midday and get into the chat and vote for your favorite tickers every day. But it's a subs-only chat, so you got to be a subscriber, guys. All right, here's a look at the triple Qs. The NQ down on the day, about a third of a percent. Likewise with the Dow, down about 1/4%. The ES down about 0.15, and the Russell 2000 outperforming them all, flat on the day. So we'll keep an eye on the major averages as the day goes on. Here's the first ticker, though, as decided by you guys. Tesla, a bit of a tough day today for Tesla. It was a really strong day yesterday, giving back some of the gains, about 4% in the negative. We woke up to this headline in the morning that they were offering up to $2,000 for some Cybertrucks as deliveries start to slow down. $2,000, though, is for the demo. I believe they're offering about $1,200, maybe a little bit more for the brand new models, guys. Tesla down 4%.
Yeah. You're going to have to do more than that to get me in a Cybertruck. But we've had that discussion before about, like, if I got an EV, it certainly wouldn't be a big boy. Like, I want something.
No, a Cybertruck's not for everybody.
Yeah, I want something small. I don't know, like you read some articles about the Cybertruck and you read some articles about Tesla being overly critical about it. Let me just go over to Intel because I'm getting out of that sucker. They're overly critical about it, but you know what? They're selling more of them than they are of the F1 Lightning, F-150 Lightning, which is a pretty good vehicle. So Intel liked it when it was underneath The pre-market, it's still missing pre-market data there, but the pre-market high at least is intact. The second it gets back above, this is above VWAP. Okay, that VWAP's gonna be wrong, but I'm jumping out of it. As far as Tesla goes, it looks a little better when you zoom it out on Tesla. But it's only a little bit better. Got away with one today on Tesla, as it's easy to look at hindsight being 2020. Like, it closed right in here after that big ramp up. You pull right back in, and we're holding 425. Then all morning long, it just consolidated underneath where things ended up, and then just flat bottom broke. The thing about that is, like, unless you're sitting there, I am thinking short Tesla, I have a stop order to break down off the open. Like, you're either bearish that day or you're missing that initial move. That's just how it goes. Let's say maybe you could have, if you were really bearish, maybe you could have shorted the 420. It did hold one line of support at 413. Once it was underneath that, like, it played this to VWAP a couple times, or at least close enough to VWAP a couple times off the 413. 416 didn't really work, so kind of 2 for 3 on Tesla. And why not be headed down to 400? That's, at this point, maybe not this afternoon, but at least based on what we see here on the 15-minute or like the daily chart, like, you do have some obvious overhead resistance in the 425 to 430 range that we've tested a few times. And it's not like we've tested this without getting back to 400 yet. Every single drop from this area at 425 has found its way to at least 400. And that's the most recent. But maybe we're headed for that at the end of the week. I mean, at the end of the week, too, like a 400 level, testing it on a Friday kind of makes some sense. Not a very good day for Tesla. We'll note that Randy's Rivian held up much nicer today. Rivian is up 5% on a day where Tesla's bleeding and breaking up the highs as we speak. It's not bad everywhere. It just can seem like that when Apple has that bad of a day. The Nasdaq's down 0.3%. The ES is down 0.1%. If you're looking at Tesla and Apple, you think the world is ending, but it's not.
Yeah, down 3 and a bit there today. We try to catch some longs on Tesla as well, but yeah, won't find any really. We tried it. I mean, every time it bounced, and every time it was a winner until it got till this time. But this wasn't really a trade. This just was in and out as soon as fast as it came into 413. They're testing that bottom again. But this was a winner. This was a winner. This was a winner. They're all winners, but then they all broke the bottom at the end of the day. So today, I think, was just, we talked about it as we were in these trades. We kept on getting out at the 50-period moving average, and we're like, let's try to hold to see if we could go. We didn't. We weren't able to go. So unfortunately, the only time we went is when we got stopped out right there at just before we left you guys at 11 o'clock. Then it actually went. So right there, you get a like $2, $3 move back to the upside. We did have a good move there as well, and here. But at the end of the day, Tesla just kept on going higher and then lower. So, that's a new high, lower high, potentially lower high again at 413. I'm looking short on Tesla, and maybe it starts right here, 413. So I'm looking more at NVIDIA right now to go short, but now we can go over and talk about Apple.
Another one that's aggressively red on the day, guys, giving up that $230 level is Apple, down 3 2/3. We woke up to this headline. Nothing we really didn't know already, though, that they lost their crown as a key player, well, the top 2 in China now, behind Huawei, guys, and Vivo.
I thought I heard Amin say something.
I thought it was.
It must have been something.
I can't do it well.
Huawei?
Yeah, well, usually
Huawei?
Sharif says it Huawei.
Huawei.
I don't know if I'm even doing it right when you say it that way. So Apple bled today. It was rotten to the core today. But I still say an apple a day keeps.
Neil, get it.
No.
Get it, Neil.
I feel like I don't want the dad jokes and the bad puns is just par for the course. We'll save the get-its for the good ones. I just realized that you've got the nice patches on the elbows there on that sweater, even though I've been sitting next to you all day long.
Get it, Neil.
I have one sweater that's got the patches. Maybe I'll dig it up and see if I can't find it. I like the look. No, Apple bled. There's no question about it. I tried, let's see. Let me zoom it in here. I want it zoomed out so you can kind of see just how lack of support there was at all your traditional levels. Like, if you look at where this jumped off of yesterday, there were no buyers there. Like, the usual places where you would find liquidity, there weren't. So I tried this mean revert. Oddly enough, this one was actually kind of good. That one stunk. This one was okay, but no follow through. Like every single time it tried to bounce. I mean, the 230 was about as good as it got, and it went like a buck. So I swung like, I'd call it like 1.5 for 6 on this if we're really counting. And unfortunately, whatever we had on Tesla, we lost on Apple. What I don't like about this chart, it means a lot not to like about the chart today, but look at this rejection of the 50-period moving average on the daily. This is why, to think that it's not headed back in to test, maybe not 217, but at least like the 220 level on Apple. The fact that we're closing at the end of the day, we'll see about maybe you get a relief rally, buy imbalance because it's bleeding and some people want to cover the shorts. Maybe you get a little bit of that at the end of the day here, but the test of that 200 period feels like it's going to be next. You're bleeding all over yourself, and I'm just going to randomly throw up some other things in there to back on that tone of that it's not just, it's not doom and gloom. Like Google's down 0.8% today. It's really not that bad. Meta's down 0.4% today. It really isn't that bad. It's just an Apple Tesla kind of story, and they're down the same percentage, but in most ways, I think Apple is a much weaker name today.
And Apple a day does not keep Raider Trader away. I see Raider Trader there in the chat. What's up to my guy, Raider? Yeah, it's okay. He doesn't have to come on. He's Raider Trader. I mean, drop a super chat. I want to see this guy's name show up there. We like this kid. Right there, what's up to Randy? Here's me and Randy. We went out there. This is what's happening right now in Toronto. You can see the snow. It's not too bad there. As this is 10 minutes ago, Randy and I there just before he went on air with everybody. Okay, watch this. All right, you want to see gold? 236 long on Apple. If we dip into there, we like this long. Okay, so that's the long, right? All right, so that was a good trade. So here's Apple dipping into 236 long. So again, win, lose. And we'll wind up, as Neil mentioned there, good stock on Tesla, bad stock on Apple. This is the kind of the day that it's been for me as well. As Apple, we didn't make any money on Tesla. And Apple, we're flat on because of this break. But the one thing that I said I would try to do a little bit better on, but I didn't have the short feeling today. And we'll talk about this as we go. If the whole, it wasn't, and Neil already talked about this, the NASDAQ is flat on the day, or it's not flat, but it's not down 4%, right? NASDAQ down 0.3, ES down 0.1, yeah, 0.1. So I didn't have the whole thought, the world is coming to an end here. So when we get stopped out at 236, I don't even really think about going short. But man, was it short? That was... I mean, the volume really stayed here until 11:30. It was really strong. Normally, you don't see volume just sort of stay this way. It was strong all the way down. They tried to buy it up here, but all the big candles, red candles, and really sticking with the plan. So as you said, you're going to find out probably someone selling here into something.
Warren?
So, but could it be Warren again? I don't know. I mean... That was this is a very, Apple, all right, so I don't have the stats here, but Apple has many times, and I could just, here, let's call
Ask
it.
ChatGPT. I don't know what the question is.
ChatGPT, no, I was just going to say, Apple, daily chart's fine. Apple drops all of the time. This goes back to 2023. So right here, this is split.
Wait a minute.
This is SMR.
I was going to say,
I'm $8.
I'm like, oh my goodness.
Ramin, can you just hit a button and get my mug off there? All right, so here we go. So this goes back into 2023 of July. That's $200 down to 170, right? So there's your 20% off haircut as well. Then that goes all the way back up. Then you have a 190 down to the bottom again of 166, about a 15 or so % move. Then you have your huge move up, and that goes back up to 200. The low there, 164. So that's chopping off another $35. That's another 20 or so %. Let alone this move that just happened not even that long ago. This is in the summertime. So we just went through this 8 months ago. 236. Oh, look at that, right where we are today. I didn't even realize that 236, that's 236? Okay, well, maybe that would have been a good level to short once it broke that. 236 goes all the way down to 196. down there. So that shaves it off. Another move, another move. So this is pretty dramatic in what we've seen, but not out of likelihood. So it's in the pocket of able to do that. The thing about it is, Neil highlighted this key level right here, the 200 period moving average. In all of these last couple moves, and again, COVID's going to be, this is not even COVID, this is 2024. So we have, I mean, the more I zoom out of this, we did spend time underneath the 200 period moving average. So you're going to have to, this is May of 2020, April of 24. April, that low is 164. So that's the low right there of 164 in, and we just made that. So we're coming in, right? It's January.
Oh, that's just a 52.
Yeah. So,
okay.
Oh, this is 50 period and 200 period. Yeah. So what I'm getting at, just quickly, we'll throw it back to Sharif as we got to go. This is 164 in April of 2024. So it goes 164 up $100 to $260. Now you're getting a pullback. It's not nice to get these pullbacks, nor maybe it's a little overly healthy, as they say on pullbacks. I think it's a buy. I think it's almost a buy right now. So pick your poison if you like Apple or the indexes, but if you're not in the name, it might be getting close to a point where you want to start to nibble. But if you're nervous about their numbers, earnings, I think are in 2 weeks. So, watch out as all these tech names come flying through here.
You can always just buy the index.
I'm going to find out exactly.
You get a bunch of Apple that way, and you're not even down right now. And then if Apple makes a rebound, you get the thing is, if an index,
as
but it's
you'll get more of a gain in Apple.
Yeah, you get more of a gain in Apple. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'll be buying Apple as a 200 period moving average. I'm just throwing it out there. Like I said, I will be buying it as a 200 period moving average. Let's see if anybody is buying
I'll
Bitcoin.
find the earnings date.
99.8 Bitcoin.
Yeah, guys, ranging at that $100,000 mark. IBIT's up 0.5% on the day. It's really been flat a little bit, below 99,000, a little bit above. There was this little headline from yesterday. Trump's treasury picks caught Besant urges the dollar must remain the world's reserve currency as president-elect reportedly pushes for that strategic Bitcoin reserve, guys. So a bit of tug and war right now between the U.S. dollar and Bitcoin for priority. What's the look?
So we tried BTC long already today. Okay, I just typed in here BTC. That's hilarious. Okay, no, the name to type in here, my guy, is IBIT. Oh, shoot.
You can type in BTC.
IBIT's back up. Okay. So the level that we liked, and again, we were one and done on this one. This was real quick, man. This was like real quick. Nice move down in for BTC right off the open. We thought it could have a chance to either hold or get close in around that 100,000. This was like a 98 or so level. We'll look at Bitcoin. Neil has the actual Bitcoin chart up, but once it broke through there, I didn't like it anymore. We kind of were trying to play off some of these pre-market lows, and then we wanted 56. And the reason why we liked it is if we drew some lines earlier, but there was 56 right into here. So it was kind of yesterday. This is yesterday. That bottom was a level that I thought could hold. It didn't. It just came crashing in. So I think that break back through, and not being here hurts, but that break back through, it's like that same play that we made on NVIDIA, that boom, back up through past support becomes resistance. So once it breaks through the upside, I think that was the trade. I think you can still be long. So over top of the 200, over top of the 50, I like Bitcoin. I like it for long. And I think it breaks 100,000. We'll probably get to that before, well, not probably, I mean.
Real close.
As long as Bitcoin's open, it has a very good chance of moving $400. So wait out for 100, and it's open all the time. So wait out for that move. I think it's worth pushing long through 100K.
Yeah, and just, I can show you this. I'm going to start showing this a little bit more. I know we go to IBIT because that's what we trade, but, with real trading, we do have the quote up live. So I can show you the actual chart just to give you an idea of how close we are to that 100K. And it's a little bit of a pullback, but, well above VWAP, sort of well above. You've been supporting above 99 for most of the session. Outside of that liquidity grab early on in the session, you've been holding on pretty well. I'm no longer in Mara, but it's now creeping back above VWAP. I've basically been shorting it above the prior close or VWAP. So above the prior close, out, in front of VWAP, back into VWAP, reload, out. Now it's holding above VWAP and the prior close. So, going to be obviously eyeballing Bitcoin. If Bitcoin tanks, Mara's probably not going to be any good of a long, but it's starting to break out the trend. Want to see if we can grab this one on the way to 100K. So if 100K goes, I want to be long this into those highs. So let's go. And Uber 70. When I see 70, I thought we might talk about Palantir.
What 70?
Question mark.
Let's go see it.
We got awfully close, boys. We got into 69 and change after defending $60 for 4 or 5 weeks. This is the daily chart on Uber, and the reason I pointed it out there was to show you how long we were defending this specific area. These are all $60 holds. Now we get into that key area of technical resistance at $70. We don't clear it today, but we'll definitely keep an eye on it. Uber yesterday did announce when they will report their Q4 report. February 5th, boys, at 5 p.m. 5 p.m., 8 a.m., Eastern time. So it's going to be a pre-market earnings report February 5th.
Okay, pre-market, that makes more sense.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh no, Darryl lost one of her headphones. Right here, B-balling. Sean must have got wrecked on his Apple calls. I don't have any options on Apple. I only own Apple. I don't have any calls on them or anything like that at all. And today, Apple, I'm completely flat on. If you're talking about the call today, I'm completely flat on this call. I mean, these are all the outs. Unfortunately, we didn't go short, so. Thanks, B-ballin'. All right, so we bought Uber down here. The only problem is, it's good, we're in the money now. But we had first started to buy this thing, I think it was probably around 80. I don't know if we would have bought 80s, but it doesn't matter. Our average price is 67. At the end of the day, we bought some more here at 72, and then we did stick our neck out here a little bit down in and around $60 and got that fill, which gives us an average price, which makes sense, right? If there's the top and there's the bottom, you retrace back to the 200 period, that should be in and around a good price that you have. So we'll continue to watch it. I didn't realize it even got to $70 today. So I think psychologically that's going to be a short. It's also the 200 period moving average. So I'm going to do the over-under game with Uber. We'll look at it tomorrow. Just for a day trade right now, I think the best thing to do, and I'm in AMD right now, we'll talk about that in a minute, but I think the best thing to maybe trade here in the afternoon would be either, we'll talk about some earnings plays or futures. Apple's had big moves, but Uber could be the one bouncing off VWAP. So it's just, Uber to me looks like a better long than it does a short right now, obviously being up 3% and bouncing off that VWAP. So if you're long right now, I think you can hold it back to 68.70 or so. It could break and then bounce right back. So if you're going to hold it against something, 68.50 right now. So I like the long. I think if you're going to go long in and around here, give it that 50 cents for about $1 of upside if you take out the highs. So if you think the NASDAQ is about to run up, Uber is probably a great play bouncing off of VWAP and already being long on the day. Uber probably a winner there.
Yeah, going to close that 50-period moving average. It's going to take a lot for it not to close this 50-period on the daily. So that's I think that's the sign you're looking for here. And you always want relative strength you shouldn't say that. I mean, Kyle Burnett probably doesn't want relative strength in a market like this or to find it. But Apple, that makes a lot of sense. Prior high and that 50-period sits around 68, some resistance in there. So as long as you hold on to that tomorrow, I think you're good to go. I might be inclined to look for a mean reversion on this. Like, why mean revert things that are trending down, or instead mean revert things that are trending to the upside, Neil? So as I see that, it's literally bouncing off VWAP. It's about to break this trend as we speak. I'm on the bit of Mar for a VWAP bounce, but this looks a little bit different. Like, this looks like an opportunity to get it breaking back above trend and getting to the high of the day here on Uber. Also, TSM, wow. TSM, oddly enough, if that's the one you decided to trade today, was tricky, despite their blowout earnings. I don't think it was the one.
Absolutely, Neil. It kind of barcoded there. Very sideways movement after gapping up, obviously, overnight with Taiwan reporting, or Taiwan Semi reporting overnight. Guys, it was a beat everywhere. Whether you look at profitability or you're looking at revenue or you're looking at the guide, everything was good. They tripled their AI revenue in 2024. They're looking at doubling that AI data center revenue in 2025. So keep an eye on it now. Looks like Needham also boosted them with a buy and boosted the price target to $225, guys, trading at $217.09 right now, up 5%.
All right, so
But kind of weak.
yeah, so we talked about if you want to go long, it was the 218 break long, but that happened in the pre-market, and then we said, okay, maybe it's going to be 219 for TSM. Obviously, in the market moving to the downside, you'd be like, okay, are we really going to be going long this name? But then we said, watch out for 215 dip buys. I mean, that's what we talked about, dip buys into VWAP at 215. So it's just like, you know, this is why we write the sticky note. This is why we try to stay true to it. This is why we put on more shares on these ideas that we have instead of sitting here like in this AMD trade right now. But look at the bottom right here for Taiwan Semi today. What did we write down? 215? Okay, this is 215 right here. That's 215. So, yeah, about that. You know, it held right off the jump. It held again, it held again, it held again. So those were all great. If you did take that break off the open, then you did have a 219 move all the way to 222. So you're really winning both ways here today on this name. So congratulations if you had anything on TSM, especially if you followed the sticky note. I'll try to do better following my own advice. So there it goes right there. Monster winners, dip buy or break long on Taiwan Semi. And that's just more confidence, right? It's about having the plays. We can make them tomorrow and all that. We're green today, so I'm happy with it. But definitely missed opportunity. Missed opportunity right there on the pre-market break high, and then a missed opportunity, as we wrote it on our own note, to buy these dips into 215. So hopefully they'll still exist, and we'll get another opportunity to right the wrongs. But 215 definitely dip buy opportunity as it was written.
Yeah, and look, today the chips got the bounce because of TSM, but then the big thing on that report was their CapEx spend, right? So where are they going to spend that money with people like AMAT, with people like ASML, with Lam Research? Shout out to Wolf Capital for picking the bottom on Lam with their downgrade yesterday, only to see them rocket up, I think. Hang a second. Let me just make sure that Lam actually held the lows here. Yeah, oh, wait a minute. Lam is pulling back pretty decently. It's still up 6% despite dropping $2.50 Lam. So that's just given up a good third of the move, or maybe even more than that. You know, the gap up. Either way, they make the things that make them chips, and they were a runner. I got tripped up in, you know, it is what it is. And we talk about going back to first principles, but while the market was going to the downside, and we were kind of probably too focused on, I'm slightly up on NVIDIA, but it's more to do with Tesla and some of the other names that we're watching heavily in the big mag, and then just not going right back into AMAT when it broke out the top, because we like this. I think this stock, you know, this ASML are going to be some sneaky good value plays, because what's happening here is something that was depressed, and as long as TSM is spending, and as long as all this is going on, then AMAT should work, right? Like, you're not making chips without them. You're not making chips without ASML. You're not making chips without Lam Research. So all these names are just catching bids off of the bottom and only now starting to round out. So, you know, a shift could be going into some of these, and you can thank TSM, I think, for all of it. So, you know, thank you, TSM. It gave a lot of good opportunities today. Unfortunately, you know, it wasn't the best of days for NVIDIA. There were a couple of good spots. It had a nice bounce off of 36. It had a somewhat decent bounce off of 135. I'm actually looking at this one for a bit of a rollover here as we speak on NVIDIA. It cannot seem like this is where the long reverted, and it tried to get up through this 135. Now got a bit of a consolidation here. If it can break through, I mean, I could probably get to VWAP, but I think just sort of taking a shot in this range on NVIDIA, someone's selling it at 135, 20 or so. So yeah, the chips, you had to really sort of decipher what was strong and what was weak out of it on that TSM news. Like, it did, you know, it wasn't doing much of anything for NVIDIA, but it certainly was for Lam and all that good stuff. I think there's probably some good opportunities and continuation for those names. I'm surprised we didn't talk about the banks at all.
Right.
Just so, again, we had bank earnings in here today, and on the lines of this is not doom and gloom. Morgan Stanley is up 3%, and that's after they got the big bump. They got the big bump yesterday because of Goldman and Citi and Wells and JPM, and you know, today you had these guys almost breaking the 52-week high here. So I'm thinking continuation this afternoon on Morgan. They're holding on to, you know, 133 is VWAP in there. It's also reverting a bit of a trend. So kind of eyeballing this VWAP on Morgan Stanley, in addition to Mara and Uber, which we were just sort of talking about. Uber looking very good off of VWAP as well. Neil, that's an inverse head and shoulders on NVIDIA. I mean, Neil.
Yeah, Neil, get it.
Sharif's the chartered market technician.
LOL. No,
Oh.
he's not.
No, yeah, I mean, like, okay, I guess, yeah, you're talking about like here. Yeah, of course, that's an inverse head and shoulders. But these things work in both, like it works in both directions. In order for this to break out, it's got to break out. Buyers above here. If buyers don't show up, and this is like 135 quarter. If buyers don't show up above there, then where's your run into VWAP? It doesn't exist. I'm more thinking, hey, if it breaks this and puts in a lower high, then it's trapped some people looking for that long head and shoulders reversal. But yeah, you'd rather be looking for, ideally, I mean, longs, like I said, like, I don't know, I'd rather maybe take a shot that this can bounce off of VWAP here on Uber. But we'll see what happens. All jokes aside, Hims is pumping hard.
Well, you had mentioned that before.
Well, there was a really good pun that I didn't think needed blocking on, someone had made a good joke that Hims chart was going erect. Well, that's not that, well, come on, that's okay. You think that's that bad? I think that's
a little offside, but I don't know, up to, it depends who's watching, I guess, at the same time. But yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's not,
It's breaking the high of the day.
it's funny.
Is there a story here? That's the only thing I don't know.
There has to be, obviously, if it's going that insane. I just want to just real quickly here before we go, or not before we go. We're not going anywhere. We do have actually an interview coming up pretty soon. That should be a great one and very, very interesting stuff coming through. It piqued Sharice's interest on the way out.
Mine too.
More about nutrition. Okay, so just really quickly here, AMD. So I'm going to try it now. Weaker than the market. The market's trying to make its way back up. So we talked about possibly shorting NVIDIA if it got up near that 136. And I just kind of found a similar level right now. The only thing is that NVIDIA is weaker, like much weaker today. Oh, wait a minute. I guess it's bounced back. That's right. We had that move up. So, all right. So at one point there, NVIDIA was pretty bad. Now they're equal on what's up or what's down. So this is already above the 200 period and starting to go back up. I really liked VWAP in there. Let me reassess this for a second. So I was shorting into here because we were at VWAP at the 200 period and debating a move down from this level. So I'm going to go short until 119.57 here. We're trying to be as patient as we can. I have my first bid. Actually, it's underneath, right? Yeah, I'm underneath this. So I'm under here. I don't even want to take the 50 period. That's where we started this trade. Let's put it under here and see if we can actually get a decent winner. Maybe the market does pull back here the rest of the afternoon, or maybe it doesn't. And that's the thing. We don't have to answer that question. We can get in and out if we're stopped out of this trade. So right now we're short at 06. I do have another offer to get more shares at 37s, which is kind of this top rated to there. So if we can come into the 30s, we'll take it again, and then we're going to have to hold. Our average price will be in the 20s. We're looking for 40 plus cents because our stop is going to be 60s. So hopefully we'll be able to catch or capture at least 40 cents on this trade, which is what I'm looking for. The feel, I mean, I don't know what you guys are thinking.
99, there we go, 100K. On BTC. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm on the Uber chart, but Bitcoin just made the. Okay, well, maybe right. Okay, I have one source, 99.99. I mean,
it doesn't matter. It's already broken.
And then I have 100K on Binance. So either way, let's just say we're broken.
100,000.
Yeah, we've broken the 100,000 level. So we're back above it. This is, I mean, finally, you're actually seeing. Sorry, I just bought a little bit of a dip in Mar when I saw that, but finally you're going to make that move. I like the fact that we're immediately regaining the 100K level after yesterday. It was a great breakout, but if you hold it long term, you kind of want to see it hold that level, right? Obviously, it's a good sign that you liquidity grabbed underneath, maybe shook out some weak hands, and now we can go for a little bit of a jaunt to the upside. So IBIT just broke. We'll keep an eye on it. If we can catch a bid that gets to like 101, 102 has been a big resistance level, as you were mentioning. We'll play some Mara. I don't know if this is going to move Uber or anything like that, but still looking for Uber. Uber is now closing above the trend line, so it's looking a little bit better into VWAP. I guess we'll nibble in here and play this one into VWAP. So it's at 69 right now. VWAP's at 68.8, and it's just breaking a bit of a trend here on Uber.
Let's see if anything else is going on. I mean, we always get, we always talk about Palantir. Palantir's had a really great move. Palantir's up 10% in 3 days. So $64 bottom down here on the daily chart, found itself a base. This is that pump from NASDAQ. So our charts won't go over if you come over, our charts won't transfer over from NY. So we're still working on that. But there it is, man, 63 bottom up to 71, more than 10% up right there as we had a little bit of a blast higher through 71.50 today. Palantir really, really great levels there over the last week. A nice move to the upside. We called this one of our plays of the year. I really thought it still had the juice to go. We talked about Apple's earnings January 20th. So we do want to, January 20th. January 30th. January 20th, I believe, would be the weekend. It's the 16th now, 17th, 18th, 20th, 20th as well. So before we go over to our guest today, just really quickly, I just want to say, we just got a super chat. Thank you so much. I guess 200 pesos, is that what that is? Poll, well, we're not just going to put a poll up right now, but Rigetti Gap Fill, $6 incoming, I guess. Yeah, or homecoming. I think Rigetti, that's where we went long, in and around $6. I'm staying away from many of the quantum names. That space seems to be a little heated up right now, a little back and forth action. But all right, we do have our guest ready, so let's go over to the desk with Brendan.
All right, thanks, guys. Yeah, I'm excited about this. I know we have a few people in this room that are excited about this. We're talking about the health and wellness space today, and I'm very, very excited to have John Salenza, CEO of Sizzle Brands, brand new listing on the CBOE Canada exchange here in Toronto. It's been a great week. I have the chart up next to me here. John, welcome. First of all, it's been a pretty good week for the stock itself since you came public. Let's start high here and give us an overview of the overall company here, and then I want to really dig into some of the unique products you guys have. But good to see you.
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. Yeah, so Sizzle Brands, House of Brands approach, playing in the sports nutrition, health and wellness space. Our first brand through the tracks is Quench. I'm actually holding our Coach Chippy LTO here that was launched today. So we Quench, best-in-class sports drink, 6 electrolytes, low calorie, no sugar, no artificial flavors, no preservatives, the most bioavailable ingredients you could put in a sports drink, getting purchased by all the pro teams throughout North America. We kept our velocity our distribution very tight to start, and the velocity has been incredible. So that's a bit about Quench. We also have our supplement line, Spoken, 13 SKUs, 11 different products, more of a play into the U.S. facility and training facilities and pro sports space. And then there's a couple other products in the hopper that we haven't quite announced yet, but some exciting stuff ahead. But first and foremost, all best-in-class, healthiest products on the market, tested by the best athletes in the world, formulated by top dietitians, nutritionists, doctors, bringing them to the masses.
Yeah, tell us the story here. What was the idea behind the brand, behind getting away from some of those ingredients, some of those things that other brands tend to present as healthy, but when you really dig into it, might not actually be as healthy? Give us the backstory here.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at, let's take protein as an example, right? So look at protein back in the day. Protein was for bodybuilders, or it's kind of loosely associated with steroids. Now, who's not putting protein in their smoothie, their daily smoothie, right? You look at something like greens. Obviously, there was a phenomenon with AG1. Greens back in the day was for who? Popeye the Sailor Man, to get a bunch of strength, right? So we're seeing all these best-in-class ingredients, best-in-class types of products that are coming from that pro sports dietitian world and eventually make its way to the masses, right? So what we're doing is we're kind of closing that gap. There's so many companies out there that have great products but don't have those manufacturing capabilities, distribution capabilities, or just relationships in general, right? So we kind of have the best of both worlds here. We want to bridge that gap for people, especially post-COVID. So many more people are focused on exercise and longevity. So just trying to better people's lives and sell them better for you products.
It seems like there's always something that is very, very hot, and everybody is really excited about it in this industry specifically. What trends are you seeing of late, and how is the company approaching that?
More of an emphasis on Gen Alpha, believe it or not, right? So you're looking at millennial parents being more cognizant of what their kids are consuming, right? So fortified protein snacks, no preservative, no sugar type products. They're growing up a little healthier than we did, I guess, back in the day. I remember when I was going to school, just the only sip of water I'd have during the day was to get out of class to have a sip from the water fountain, right? So now kids are going to schools with their big Stanleys and they got their hydration routines and what have you. So parents buying for the next generation is definitely one of the biggest trends we're seeing for sure.
When it comes to, there's massive names in this space and in this industry. When it comes to the investor side of the game, what really makes Sizzle Brands stand apart here? What can you tell investors to really focus on this brand?
So our team is very experienced, 15 plus years in the industry, from startups to exits. And when you have those relationships, you're going to get some shelf space, right? If you've been good to people for X amount of time, they're going to give you a chance. But what you got to look at is the velocity that these brands are getting within the doors that we have, because you can get a product on shelf, but can you get that product to turn what's on the shelf? And when you're looking at a younger brand and it has that velocity, those are the ones to look out for, right? So if you look at two of the most explosive stocks of all time, Celsius energy drink, Monster energy drink, just as examples, right? If you're in that beverage game and you can hit the right brand, those are where the home runs lie for sure.
When we talk about products around that space, is there anything in the pipeline? Let's talk about what's to come here, maybe a little bit for Sizzle Brands that could be the next step as far as expanding the reach and expanding the product line.
Yeah, I'll give you one example because I could talk till I'm blue in the face here, but I don't. We have a sleep builder product from our Spoken supplement line. So what I love about that line is, not only is it best in class products, is it another source of revenue for us, but it really acts as an R&D arm. So the product I'll speak about is our sleep builder product. So we've got the best athletes in the world, been trialing this product for months now, top trainers, strength coaches, you name it. And the results are absolutely incredible. Like, people go into bed with their Apple or Garmin watches on, and the recovery is just green in comparison to anything that they were trying to use in the past. So obviously sleep, we all do it or try to. And that's a product that you could see going from that kind of more niche space to the masses very quickly here.
It's as you said, just as important, if not more so, I think, on the recovery side than the actual activity and the, whatever it is you're doing throughout the day.
It's our only superpower as human beings, right?
Yeah.
If you go to sleep, all of a sudden, you feel refreshed, you feel better, right? So if we can enhance that and make it deeper and stronger and build upon that, I mean, that's like the video game, getting the heart and powering back up, right?
If someone's looking specifically for that, maybe product or more information, at least on some of those products, where would you send them?
SpokenNutrition.com.
Perfect. Anything else you want to leave with the investors today?
No, I really appreciate you guys having me on today. And you can look for some explosive growth from us over the next couple of years. Distribution and net sales are growing rapidly with healthy margins. So we're here to provide great products, and on the investor side, make our friends some money for sure.
Brand new listing, guys, on the CBOE Canada exchange. CZZL is the ticker if you're looking for it. Great conversation. John Salenza, CEO over at Sizzle. Great to see you.
Thanks so much for having me. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Yeah, great conversation, and appreciate you, John. I was just sort of thinking, like, out loud. It's like it's such an amazing product. I can only imagine, like, if there was somebody out there, and I'm sure there's somebody like this. Maybe you're recovering from a major injury and doing a bunch of rehab. Maybe you tore an Achilles or something like that, and you have had sleep issues in the past. And then certainly you need to have that rest and recovery.
But how about just for our profession?
Then maybe that person could get a free sample.
But seriously, like for traders, sleeping, I think that's important.
No, it's huge.
Having that focus.
I sleep like crap.
We always talk about how day trading is like you versus the market and all that kind of stuff. So, it is a competitive space too. So feel like nutrition, all that kind of stuff, good sleep. I go and swim. That not every, but 3-4 times a week in the middle of the week there. Try to go every day if we could do that. I think it's good to clear a little bit. Thanks for that. And then my daughter also trains out of Quench there up in Mississauga. And they do have a nice facility, sponsored facility down in Oakville. So she trains out of there as well. They're big sponsors. I see them everywhere in the hockey, minor hockey and things like that. So shout out to that. And I just messaged my wife. I said, oh my God, he's talking about Coach Chippy. So I don't know if our guest is still there, but Marissa, my wife, goes, we love Coach Chippy. I always hear them talking about that. So again, it's a social media, big brand there. Go over, have a look at that. So again.
Yeah, great look.
Big name, big brand, and get that CZZL.
I'm gonna throw in it actually doubled up.
Thanks, Brendan. That was a great one.
Doubled up from the bottom last week.
It's great when we have guests that are like, it's easy to understand. You get the basis of the business, and I can
get with that.
Especially in investing, it's an easy one to wrap your head around. We're all trying to feel better and get better. Like so. Okay.
One of the best things that you can ever do is like you see something that will make people's lives better. Start a company. And make money doing it. At the end of the day, that's what the world's all about.
Yeah, so I do like those of you there. So, all right, I know I talked about shorting NVIDIA in and around 136. Thank you, Patek, here in the chat. Look, Yeah, I wasn't, like, AMD's not moving, which makes me think that if this market comes down right now, then this one will fall potentially more dramatic. Like, NVIDIA's my number one name today. NVIDIA's the number one P&L stock today. But it's given up the ghost every time we tried it, so that's why I wanted to go short here. And you're right, man, building that into, I did say 136, and it got up to 135.88. So we should be short this name if you do like it. Thanks for calling me out on that. And I'm glad that we talked about it. I'm glad that maybe some of you have it. But for me, I saw this move up here in NVIDIA as opposed to what the futures were doing. And I didn't think that it was going to be appropriate. I would rather pick my poison right here. We shorted, our last short here was 20s. It's coming back in. Still not really moving. You're not getting a huge movement here on the futures whatsoever. So I'm not super excited about a monster move happening, but I still kind of like this top. We have it there. There's some bottoms that match around with it. So I think this is a decent level to go short. We have our stop in AMD. It's relatively tight up into their 119.60. So we'll float around a flat trade now. It's too bad. Like, I was waiting at 35s, and it got to 27s. I was debating just saying forget about it, but in trying to get a better price, that's what we do. But yeah, good call there. Thanks for mentioning it on NVIDIA. And hey, we'll just go bang, and we'll go money, money, money to anybody that took the trade that I literally talked about just before we had that interview. So it gets right into 136. Congratulations to anybody that took it. I picked my battle with AMD, and I still think we can win on it. Just not moving that much. Like, it's funny that they're the same price, but like, and give or take 20 bucks.
Close enough.
Yeah, that one just moves so much more dramatically than the other, right? Like, NVIDIA wants to go up. All right, how about $2? NVIDIA wants to fall down. All right, how about 40 cents? Meanwhile, AMD is just like, doot, 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 doot. Like, there's AMD's bottom, 118.70 up to 119.30s. Like, 50 cents, like, okay. Anyways, let's just see if we get a little bit of a push down here into the close. I'm trying to find other things to move, man. Some people talking about DJT. I mean,
I just pulled up DJT, and yeah, I mean, it's maybe moving a little bit, not much. Like, I don't know, 20, 30 cent move in here. Remember, it's double tapped. If you were watching it this morning, double tapped 42.5 in here and rejected a couple times, and then you go back to the last couple of sessions. We'll zoom in so you can see, but our volume's been picking up, but it's this 43 that it's got to get through. You get through 43 and you can go squeezing to the upside. So it's on watch. We're about $0.50 away from it. We've been involved in it before. And well, Bitcoin's still holding that 100K. So we're back in Amara. That one's going okay off of VWAP, but Uber is pulling right back in. It did revert trend briefly, and now it could close underneath this VWAP and underneath this prior low at 68.80-ish. It's a couple of pennies underneath that, and it looks like it'll run into some trouble. On the way back in, like, it did close the bar above the trend line from the high, but it still hasn't even been a green candle on it yet. So it's still falling to the downside. Gonna keep our eyes on Bitcoin, gonna keep our eyes on Mara. I was double checking, because yesterday, MSTR did give you that breakout trade. Today, Bitcoin breaks 100,000 and it fails its high of the day. So yesterday, the trade was Bitcoin breaks 100K, it broke the local high and then continued going. That was a pretty simple trade. Today, Bitcoin breaks the local high, breaks 100K, and it turns around at its high of the day. So maybe not the same scenario as we had yesterday with this Bitcoin rally. It doesn't seem like there's a ton of volume behind this break just yet. Jay Lee in the chat just said you're still long Boyle, nat gas.
What does that
for
look
the win?
like?
The thing about the picks
it's going down a little bit.
The thing about the picks that we made for the year, like, I think everybody had like a different approach with this. Like, we haven't picked 3 names, usually in 3 different types of sectors, a little bit of a divergence. Sharif just went all in on like one of the most volatile things out there. So when Sharif picked natural gas, like, he's either getting destroyed or winning that thing. On the
No, but that's what I'm saying. That's not the point of it. So
no, I know. That's
so
what I'm saying.
I'll clarify this tomorrow.
That wasn't the point of what we were doing. But it is what it is, because natural gas.
It's supposed to be reasonable money. Like, if you had 10 grand, it's literally 10 grand.
But nobody picked anything that has a chance to have the potential.
What do you mean? I think Bitcoin does. I think Tesla does.
3-4x.
I think Palantir went up 7x last year.
Well, I mean, just natural gas's volatility. If you're all in on one, we're all diversified into three things, but nat gas. And don't get me wrong, I think nat gas.
And one of his picks will be nat gas. I just need to get the other two.
Yeah, and just because on the point, I'm going to show you the Boyle chart here. It was all leading to this. This is Boyle, so shout out to anybody that is riding this runaway freight train to the upside. That's a 15-minute chart, by the way. You'll notice the lack of red candles since it broke the high. Very indicative of some parabolic. Because obviously, when you're dealing with one of these ETFs, you have splits and all that kind of nonsense. Like let me double check. I don't know the nat gas off my top of my head, so I'm just going to find it in my quote board. Do I not have NG? I thought I did, but I don't know the nat gas futures contract off the top of my head. But it is what it is. That was just showing you Boyle. We do have a quote. I just don't know off the top of my head what it is. So we're only in two names right now. We're getting a bit of a curl back into the upside. Bitcoin's holding 100K, but it is not moving the way that we did yesterday. You know, like this is us. Like that's the break of 100,000. A bit of a dip. Now you're starting to go a little bit. That's the direct quote on BTC, but you're not getting the follow through that I would like. I might take a shot to reload now that you're back above 100 here. Maybe we can get something back in the 20s on Mara or a little bit of a stink bid. We're almost into power hour here. Yeah. The good news is this break at 100K is earlier than it happened yesterday. Like yesterday, Bitcoin made that break late. Like when was it? Here, I'm just gonna go to IBIT. Like that was, I feel like it was easily in the last hour. Yeah, it was really late. It was like right at the end of the day where you got that breakout. So a little bit earlier, maybe not too much. Let's see if Bitcoin can sustain it through. Le trade. We French? It's slow. Can you explain how you use futures charts on equities? TOS plots, futures charts, same as ticker. So I'm not sure if I use the futures charts for reference as to what the market is doing. I'm not sure if that's what you were getting at. Yeah, just let me know just maybe clarify that one. I have no issues. We can always answer that question, but use futures charts on equities. Like, do you mean how do we use them to trade equities or
probably?
So generally speaking, and this cuts in both directions, and this actually burned me today, but I'll give you an example right here. And this obviously, I don't mind throwing some shade on myself with AMAT, but if you look at the NASDAQ, I'm going to just throw up the NASDAQ here. So this is right when AMAT, which I was long off VWAP, was testing the pre-market high and pulled back at about 10:30. Now, obviously, that's going to be, where are we? That's going to be 9:30 here in Central Time. So you actually were pulling in to VWAP and putting in a lower high on the futures. So here you had the futures doing what at the time, in the moment that I put the trailing stop in, you were rejecting a lower high. So it was like stair step down in the market at a time you're rejecting the high. To me, that's like, okay, get out. If we pull back in, it's still a strong stock. I want to buy VWAP back on trend when this reverts back into the bottom. Now, what ended up happening is the futures did reject VWAP and did pull back into the bottom, but then the stock I wanted to dip buy continued going. So it ended up being a missed opportunity, but that's kind of the way that I like to look at it. You know, because it's a strong stock, I didn't want to give up on the long necessarily altogether, but if we were going to retest the lows, then I wanted to buy the dip on AMAT. So that's usually what I'm trying to do, just use it as a leading indicator on, and I usually look at the NASDAQ for that. Don't really use ES for, You used to. When we started trading, you use the S&P a lot more than you would use the NASDAQ, but not anymore.
Yeah, I pretty much trade I trade lots of different names, but when you're looking at an NVIDIA or a Tesla or something like that, you want to definitely want to look one way. But I guess Apple and everything like that is still in the ES. So I think that's very, very good. And thanks for the question. If there's anything else you need clarified in that one, then bring it on down. Okay, so NVIDIA's approaching that level again. I was just going to say, trading here in the afternoon, and I talked about this yesterday, I'm trying to think about and trying to develop new strategies for this kind of trade. And a good example here again would be like this AMD that we talk about. We get our fills up here at that 37, and now the drop back in comes through. So now we're up on the stock again, and it's always difficult because you never know. Okay, all right, let me take out, now that we have a little bit more shares, let me take out 5% or so in the teens here if we can do that. because that's where VWAP is. And I mean, if we can make it all the way back down and just take like 10 cents or so, we'll probably do a little bit of that trimming right now. So we'll do that. We'll sit here for 10 cents. If we can get a little bit of it, we'll do that. Remember, our average, our stop out's going to be around that 60 high there. But the way I trade, and again, just because I'm sitting there at 119.13, once it comes in and hits me, like that's not a fee that I pay. I actually get paid to add liquidity. We can talk about that fee structure. We've done that a little bit. I don't want to bore people that already know about it. So it's adding and removing liquidity. So I'll just sit there. If we get filled, great. But like if you're paying $5 a trade or $4 a trade, then you're not going to have as many ins or outs as this. So just be very, very specific. And I'm just wondering if that's more the trade that we're looking for in the afternoon time. And that is that to be able to sit around and wait for specific levels instead of trying to say, all right, well, we can be early, because if we're early and the move happens, we want to be in. We don't have to be super specific with our ins or our outs. Or our outs, right? So like if you're looking at a trade like today with NVIDIA, we wrote down that we really like 236 long. So I'm starting to buy, 136 long. So I'm starting to buy in here 136.50, 136.30, and then right there is 136.34, just because I don't know if 136 is going to be that level. So when it comes in, we're already long, and when it breaks down, fine. And that allows me to have these winners because we're taking things a little bit ahead of key levels. But in the afternoon, it seems like, did we get filled there? No, we did not. Ooh. Like that, see what I mean? Like it's not going to make that much of a difference net-wise. We're having a good day. We're green today, but right there, it just comes right down into 13 and we don't get filled. So it's kind of like, that kind of sucks, but we'll wait to see if it falls down, and we're not just trying to take pennies here. We're trying to take a little more. So let's wait to see. We'll get out of, like I said, 10%. We always tend to do that if it does fall in. Bitcoin looks like it wants to continue to go, so that's a nice story for sure. This could be what trends the rest of the afternoon. Taking out the high right there at 57. We did that yesterday when it broke. Remember when it first broke yesterday, we went long and then it pulled back into the 50 and then we got long again and then it ripped up. It was yesterday afternoonish right into here. So I think we were long, pulls back, we get long there and then it takes off. Well, that's kind of a little reminiscent of what just happened right now at 2:30 where we broke through 100,000 and we had the interview, but we came back in there, hit the 200 and the 50 and now have taken out highs. So for VWAP, for IBIT and BTC, 56.90 maybe for some kind of a level there at some point.
I know we did the 50,000. I'm going to get to the super chats in a quick second. I answered one, and we'll get to Ian's as well. But there was the 50,150 thing. I almost feel like at this point, like we should have like an 88 and a 112 or something, because
the
range
range too dramatic.
Yeah, like the range that we're in. Like it's just like this range is breaking up or down, and that doesn't get answered with 50,000 and 150 ultimately. But I like what I see. I like what I see. The fact that we immediately are retesting above 100 today. I think that's a good sign, right? Like the fact that we're getting some fall through. Ian asked about Adobe. Was looking at Adobe recently to buy as a long-term hold. It's down a lot, but what price do you think would be good to enter at on the charts? So I actually mentioned this about Adobe. The market hates Adobe right now, which I saw a few people in the chat also mention. That's what the chart is telling you, obviously. But keep in mind, their 4Ps, I think it was 19. So if they beat next earnings, price keeps going down. They get really, really cheap. I've been eyeballing the mid 300s, and if it's anywhere near there on earnings and they don't miss, I would take a shot trading it off of that bottom. But outside of that, I'd look for a trend reversal and some more strength than what we're seeing right in here. So they're having an update today, and they've had a couple in a row as well. But it was much deeper that I was looking for specifically on Adobe. Let's go to one half of our Adobe, which is Adara Adobe.
This part of the show is brought to you by Prop Firm Match. Are you a skilled trader that's lacking capital? Prop firms offer the opportunity to trade with simulated funds, allowing you to showcase your skills, access account sizes ranging from 5K to 500K, and you can start with as little as 20 bucks. But with over 500 prop firms out there, how do you find out which ones are the best? That's where Prop Firm Match steps in, because Prop Firm Match is your go-to platform for finding and comparing only the most esteemed firms with proven track records and consistent long-term payment histories. Access over 4,500 verified reviews, explore payout histories, and discover the best current deals, all in one place. Scan the QR code or visit propfirmmatch.com today and find the perfect prop firm for you. Back to you.
Yeah. And we talk. Okay, here we go. AMD finally starting to get going a little bit. We do get that fill, so we'll just hit sirens just because we got the fill. Man, that's loud. Wow, the fill looks a lot better on the chart than it actually does in real life, because it's not like I said, man, we'll pay for our Tim Hortons coffee here and wait to see if we get some little more action to the downside. Like, honestly, hopefully we get a pushback. That's 119 flat. I have a small bid there. I'm going to put a little bit. I'll put another 10%. I had like less than 10% there, but we did get that fill right there, which is so, okay. If I had a full position, like if I don't have all these averages, I would be getting out right now because that move into VWAP, into the 200, that's pretty good. Not out, I don't mean out, but like if that was my average price, I feel like that's a decent move because then you'd almost be 1-to-1 on your risk to reward. So I like that play in an upside move here in the NASDAQ. So that's part of it. That's part of why we chose AMD instead of NVIDIA, right? Remember what we did? We justified this. We talked about it. We're still here, baby. We talked about not wanting to get into NVIDIA at these levels because if the market ever did this, we could be in trouble. And we preferred, and we could still be in trouble here, but we preferred AMD because it wasn't going as the market. So I think it was Le Trade,
Yes.
who tweeted that out or messaged us. That's the reason why. So how do I use futures? I mean, I looked at it and said, futures are going up. NVIDIA's following this. So, to go short, a little dangerous as opposed to what's been happening here on AMD against the same move. So that's where we'll choose it. I mean, I'm seeing it right here. I'm going to get out of it maybe I just put it out. That was 3% there. We'll see what happens now with AMD if we can continue to make moves back in. We'll take a 14 fill there now, and now we'll wait. I'm waiting at 05s for another 10% out. Right now, we still have about 93% or so of this position. We'll wait to see what happens now moving forward. But all right, there's some condors happening.
Big condor, said Smoke.
Apparently.
Also, there was, I just saw in the chat, Barry asked me, dude, I missed news on nat gas. It's up 5%. There was, let me just read it for you. Oh, whoops, I just clicked away from my news feed. I'll have to put that back in. There were inventories today. So that's pretty much it. I was going to type it in and see if we can't find it for you. But anytime you have nat gas inventories, that could move it. Oh, no, and now it's crashing. But, look, just maybe go to investing.com. There were nat gas inventories today. So that's going to move it. But there's been a sharp move recently in nat gas in general. So you're already getting some confluence off of that bid. I know Michael Noss has been mentioning this. Anytime you hear him talk about it, he's long nat gas. Sharif is long nat gas. The Widowmaker ain't for me, and I've heard lots of traders talk about how bad it is for natural gas because it does a lot of psych outs. But right in here, Uber is trying to bounce off VWAP. There's this, which is basing at VWAP, and I'll try to reload it and see if we can't trade inside of the range if that's what it wants to do. And then there's this move in Bitcoin that we have going on because Mara's carrying just fine. Like I've canceled it now. I wanted to add in the 20s, again, wasn't able to, but now you're tracking toward the high. The thing about the top on Mara is there's been a lot of selling at this high on Mara. All day long, there's been selling when you get into the 40s to the 50s, and this goes all the way back to last week, where you can see resistance yesterday, and then go into last week, there was resistance at this level. So despite the fact that we're over 100K, you're still running into a spot where the sellers have won for the last few sessions on Mara. And yes, the miners are different from everything else. So if we lose the trend, I'm probably going to jump out of Mara. If we break the top, fantastic. I'm still looking over at MSTR because that was a good blowout long, and it's actually starting to go in here a little bit. So maybe there'll be a dip opportunity in MSTR. I just saw Ricky G. What is VWAP? So I happen to have MSTR up here, but VWAP, it's VWAP, the volume weighted average price. It's just an indicator, something like a moving average. Essentially, it's like, think of a moving average that is going to wait for the amount of volume that occurs at that particular price, right? So more volume in the open, then you're going to have VWAP trail down a heck of a lot more. So despite the fact that MSTR spent more time above 358, most of the volume was at much lower prices. So the volume weighted average price is going to reflect that. So it's just a moving average weighted by the amount of volume that takes place in that time period. I use it on my charts. Everybody here has that at least on their charts, and probably volume as well, and maybe a couple of simple moving averages. Let's go to Adara.
Keep an eye here on Snap. It looks like this move kind of already happened, but it is worth noting here. I'm just seeing this come through the newswire now. FTC apparently saying that they referred their complaint about Snap to the Justice Department. So potential DOJ issues here for SNAP. Keep an eye. We've had quite a lot of FTC announcements over the last few days, likely because we are going to have a change in the tides here and a change in administration for the FTC. Current chair Lena Khan is going to be likely removed as of this point. It's been confirmed. So we're going to have to keep an eye as the FTC tries to get out their last few probes and investigations ahead of that change in administration there, guys. Snap today. Back to you.
Oh, I double checked to see if Meta was going to be able to go green on that, but it's just tagging right into the highs. A little bit of a turnaround. It's kind of sleepy. Like unless you can't chase that move, volume's not even all that good. Now, I think the reversion might be a little bit better on that. I'm looking over at some of these things that were a little bit weaker earlier. I know Sean was mentioning NVIDIA, but if you look on over, Apple is catching a bit of a bid here. Like I don't know that it's that much different from when it had the long off of 230, but it's sustaining this bounce a little bit here. And the market's at VWAP. So I don't want to, like, if this rejects 230 half or so, I wonder if we can't get a bit of a short trade in Apple. As it gets bleeding down 3%, obviously no one's going to tell you that Apple's had a good day. It's had a pretty rough day and rough go of it, but it is catching a bit of a bid. Up like $1.50. And those, you really have to zoom in there. This is a much better look at it. Get the scaling better. But you have to zoom in. You can see that it's got a very strong upward trend relative to what it was doing for most of the day. If it can revert that, I think that's going to look a little bit good. But Mara, yeah, they come right back into that high, and it cannot hold. Just can't seem to hold that 1850 area. Every time we get up there on Mara, the sellers seem to come back in, despite the fact that we're holding 100K. Mara can't seem to punch through that high. So if it loses the prior bar low, I'm going to jump out of it. That's now 1840. We might be able to reload it off of VWAP and then work on the next opportunity there for MARA. Just double check where Tesla is. It's kind of hoping maybe there'd be a fade at 420 on Tesla, but it's nowhere close to that.
PBLs, the prior bar lows.
Prior bar lows? Ryan in the chat. Hey, like you spell it like Ryan Sandberg.
Oh,
Hall of Fame second baseman for the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah.
What do you mean by catching a bid? So catching a bid just means bouncing after a down move, right? So to me, catching a bid would not refer to a stock that's up. I mean, it catches a bid if it starts an upward trend, but I usually would be referring to it's at some kind of a low or at some kind of a support level. Like maybe I'm talking about VWAP, maybe I'm talking about a prior low, and then catch a bid off of that price. So I want it to get there, show some buyers, bounce off it, then I would want to go long. Generally speaking, if we say catching a bid, that's what I would mean by that. Ryan, there's one second baseman.
Yeah.
Actually, oddly enough, underrated. It's weird to be in the Hall of Fame, be underrated.
Well, championships, right?
Well, the Cubs didn't win while he was there. I mean, they won after he was
what it's
done.
about, right? It's about the rings, unfortunately.
Well, unfortunately, a lot of Cubs greats don't have that ring. No, but I say that because his teammate won an MVP in a year that he technically outplayed his own teammate and didn't win the MVP award. That's when Andre Dawson won it in '87.
I'm going to say the Hawk.
The Hawk. Hawk was a great player. Loved him on the Expos, but Sandberg was better that year, is what it is.
Yeah, I think the power numbers, right? I mean, this is.
You lead the league in home runs, you're going to win.
Yeah, things like that anyways. Maybe not now, but okay. So AMD is doing what it is doing. Anything you guys want to talk about? We could talk about RGTI. A lot of people talking about Rigetti. Wow, okay. Is that the high of the day? No. Yeah, 1180. Okay, so yeah, we just put in the high of the day over lunchtime there. So we had looked at this stock earlier today, and honestly, man, yesterday we nailed this stock. We bought it yesterday early off VWAP and had this $1.50 move, and then we were able to get it again at $10 and had the $1.50 again at the end of the day. And then we actually even got out of it before all this happened. We got out at 11:20 on this 50 period break all the way down. So we make like $1.50 on the top end of it yesterday, and then about $1 or so on that end, and then it comes right in here today. And we talked about it earlier at 8:30, and I was like, yeah, you know, if Rigetti comes into this level, maybe we'll be interested down here again, $10. Well, I didn't put a bid there. So unfortunately, it comes right back in, and I think that's the trade that you want to have. You want to be patient with it. Obviously, with the volume, it's a couple 100 million shares, right? 220 million shares. So lots of opportunity to scalp this name, lots of opportunity to get back in. I think here, if you see what happened yesterday, we had a late day sell-off into the close. I could see that happening again. We've already sort of topped out there. I always say, like, get that garbage out of here, whether or not it's upside or downside. So that's tested the top. We did have a big explosion there on volume that happened in and around 130 that got this name going. It takes it to the high of the day only to fail. So it tried to go, it didn't. Okay, here we go again, Rigetti. All right, so now I would say this is probably a look for the short now on RGTI. I mean, we could take some short in this area just to test our little theory here. Let's see if we get some 58s. I'm sitting there on the offer trying to get some 58s. Maybe now we could try to get some 57s. But at the end, okay, there we go. We'll get some 57s. So we'll go 57, 58 using this area as our out. 1175. I honestly want to give it to that level, and that's it. So here we go. We're into Rigetti. We'll try our own little theory here that maybe that was the top. And this is how I trade. As simple as possible, discussing with you the risk, the rewards involved. We're not going to put on very many shares at bad levels. Right now, I think this is a good level. And our risk, everybody, we're short right now at 58. Our stop is 74. So let's give this name 15, 16 cents for possible pullback into the 200 period, which would be 40 cents. Yeah, man, that is worth it. So we'll put in the stop order right there at 1176. We'll get out of 100% of this. We'll average it in again a little bit, maybe near 65 or so, and then that will be it. We'll put on the same amount of shares we have now that we'll have at 65, maybe a little bit more because it's pretty close to that risk to reward that we want. And then we'll see if Rigetti can get that to us. So if you're going 1-to-1, the trade right now, short 58, out, we said 16 cents. So right into here, into 40s, that's right where we came from. That looks like a good deal to me. So we'll see if we can get something out. If we pull back into 40, otherwise here, Rigetti on my mind, but I prefer Penne. So we talked about that. So we'll wait to see what winds up happening. Affirm, yeah, Penne is great. I love Penne. And so we had the baked ziti, but we actually had Penne in there. It was great. It's my favorite. All right, so Affirm coming on the scanner right here as well. There's a few things that are popping up on the e-signal scanner, and that's Affirm right there. VWAP trade popping in right now. So there it was a couple minutes ago. You saw a little bit lower on the scanner. So there it goes, hitting VWAP right now, now pulling back. Affirm, and we talked a little bit about banks, but not that much. Affirm, one of those plays there today. I think it got upgraded not too long ago, but below 60 is a little bit of a worry spot for me because the 50-period moving average is looming. And, you know, you really, really loved that 50 period ever since you broke it down at $30, gave you almost, I was gonna say a double, but it gave you more than a double, up to 72. Now we've broke it, and now we're much underneath that. Oh boy, Neil. Here we go. Spin it right now for everybody, as that's green for your net. But this is what we're trying to do right now. It's Rigetti to the downside. It's AMD to the downside. And there it is, man. You guys want back-to-back trades? There it is, man. 2 winners in a row for you. It is AMD. It is Rigetti right there. Give you the 1-to-1 winner. We'll do the Barry Horowitz. We'll pat ourselves on the back because there it is right there. It's Rigetti. Nice win to the downside. Neil, there's 20 cents. Like, probably Apple's not even moving 20 cents. Maybe it is. I don't know. Like, AMD's not. So there's the move down on AMD. We get Rigetti at 20. Look at this move on AMD, guys. Right into the level that we like. We take some out right there. AMD. It is Stack City right now. Thank you, DJ. Because we just gave you guys another one. And there's for Ozan, if he's still here as well. Rigetti falling out of bed a little bit there as well. There's our trade right back into the 50-period moving average. So, hey, man. We say, not only do we say we're doing this, we're actually doing it right in front of you. So we'll go discuss Neil's trades, but here we go right now. 2 30-cent winners right on board now, Rigetti and AMD.
Yeah, trend break on Apple. So 2 for 3. Mara, that just crashed. Mara just came through and broke trend line. So we're jumping out of that one. Uber lost VWAP, and then trend break on Apple. Apple just broke it was a slight upward trend. I mean, obviously it's on a downtrend for the day, but it broke the trend line, so entered in on the trend break, and then we'll work it into the low of the day here on AAPL. Close that. So Apple in, and those flip on over. We did jump out of Mara. It just, the sellers, it is what it is, right? We got in at that 18.25. It gets to the 50, like every single other time we've been in the long today. basically you're turning around at that same point. So I like Bitcoin was pushing through. You're above 100K still, and yet you're still finding weakness up at the same selling range on Mara. So it's obviously, someone's dumping some shares at that price. Maybe you get a breakout tomorrow on Mara from that price. So I guess we have 229 even dollar and 228.55 as Apple broke trend, now working down into the evens. I got 44s long. It was a break at about 50. We're able to get 44s sort of short. This is the problem. I've only been long Apple until today. So even myself, I'm still saying the word long. But yeah, short on Apple. We just got a 50-cent move, but I'm in 40 cents because we had to get it after it closed that prior bar low here on AAPL.
All right, good trade there on Apple. I mean, guys, look, as John says, we're the stock whisperers, so I say, shh, don't tell anybody, don't tell anybody. Not tell everybody, man. Share the love, share everything. Like, let everybody know what we're doing here live for you every single day. I mean, I'm getting more out right now as we break a little bit lower. Nice little 30-cent move here on AMD, and we talked about, like, how we're just in the zone. Like, we're just chilling out, very relaxed, easy kind of going trading right now. We've completely flipped up everything that we do, and it's really all coming together right in front. And those of you that have been watching for so long, this is why we always say, like, we are the realists. You at any time, ask us anything about any of these names that we're in, and we'll try to help you. We'll try to give you if we're red on them, if we're green on them, how many stocks we've traded, any sort of ideas that you might have. We'll definitely have a look at them because that's what it's all about. So just on Rigetti, first of all, we are now out. So I can see how many shares we traded. We're out of like 60% of this trade. So again, we'll take the 1-to-1, a little bit more than that. We'll take it. We'll see what winds up happening with the rest. If the rest of the 35% or so that we have makes its way down, great. So I am bidding right now 25s. Hopefully it comes back in and gives us that 25, Phil. And then after that, I think an 11 out would be fantastic. So if we get all that in and ahead of VWAP in the next 40 minutes, I like it. So if Rigetti comes back in, let's make sure we put that bid now that I see where it is. So let's put a bid at like 27s, and then we'll put the same amount of shares down there in and around 11. Let's go to 7-11. And a shout out to Adara right there. So we'll go down to
7-Eleven capital of Canada.
Yes, exactly. Here it comes. Let's go, Rigetti. Bring it on down to Winnipeg right now. If we can get this going, it's Rigetti coming back in right now. And Neil, it's falling apart too on AMD. So far, so good. I still think we had to call for Adara, did we? Yeah. Yes, we did. Let's go.
We did.
We're going to take a look here at some of the weakest tickers so far in 2025 on the NASDAQ. We actually also here on TTV Research, another original graphic, we just looked at the weakest tickers in the SPY. Palantir was number 2 on that list, it was number 10 here, so the 10th weakest ticker in the SPY. It is the second weakest ticker in the NASDAQ so far in 2025, down about 11% right now, year to date. On Semi, down 13%, so that takes the top spot. Biogen, number 3 here, down about 8%. What's really interesting here, if you look at this chart, is there's a very clear sector trend in terms of the names of the NASDAQ that are underperforming. With the exception of Biogen here in the health space, every single ticker on this list is either in the consumer space or the tech space. You've got Palantir, you've got onsemi, you've got Palo Alto, Adobe also on here, and then you've got names like Mondelez, PepsiCo, Kraft Heinz, and Monster. Warner Brothers Discovery is another exception here, so BII, B, and WBD, but all the other 8 tickers are either tech or consumer staples. So really interesting look here. Check that out on X, TTV Research. Back to you guys.
There you go. Always want to know what's strong, what is weak. Another great one from you, Adara. And there was a question: where is the stop on Apple? So for this trade, it's pretty much always the same thing. Trend break, prior bar high. So trend break, prior bar high is at 60. Once you hit first support, which is right here, which would just tag the 229 even that we mentioned, I move it right underneath to either the prior bar close. In this particular case, I give it to the other, like the prior bar. The next bar high is essentially the same thing as that close bar. So now it's at 229.50. So it's not a big change. It depends on what, like the candles could look a little bit different, but for the trend break, I pretty much always do it that way. We're looking for the low of the day now on Apple. It cannot seem to get out of its own way. That said, Mara is coming back into VWAP as Bitcoin is holding on to 100,000 pretty decently. We're at 100,000 and a third. So you're not really testing back underneath that 100K. which means if we get to VWAP and can catch a little bit of a bid, there's still a little bit of time left in the day that you could work your way down, catch a bid as long as we're over 100,000. I would not want to go long this again unless we're holding 100K. A fail break of 100,000 I think would be a little bit bearish for the second time. So we're looking for lower the day here on Apple, just a little bit of a mean reversion trade. And the good part about it is instead of a mean reversion to the upside, take a downward stock and do it in the right direction, which is the way that it was already headed.
All right. If there's anything you guys want, MS. Okay, let's have a look at that. Thanks, P. Lucid. I was just going to say, if anybody has anything else to talk about, it just went back up there on AMD, and we took another bid now at 119. So we're getting less and less on this name. I'd hope for this to fall back in. We still do have about. Again, I'd have to figure out. Oh, wait a minute. We just started the trade right now. Okay, good. Yeah, this is my first trade, so I should be able to figure this out. We still have about 150. What is it going back and forth? We still have about 35% or so of this trade on. Okay, let's have a look at Morgan Stanley. We saw a big move up yesterday, and I talked about this and if you're joining us now, thank you so much, and thank you to Salvador also, who was talking about taking the same very similar trades that I take as well, and that you're following me. I really think that's important. That's why I say to you, like, if you're going to follow us, it's going to be hard to take exactly all of the fills that we take, but hopefully you can get the idea. And then at the end of the day, it's red versus green. If you're red on the day, you're red. If you're green, you're green. The amount of shares that you guys decide to use is going to be up to you. But there's Rigetti, by the way. We just got that fill. You see what I'm talking about? I can show you this in and all of these outs. Whether or not you take some there, you take some there or not, who knows? But at the end of the day, Neil, it is a chicken dinner winner. And we only have, I'll just speak for myself, we only have 2 red names today. We have iBit right off the jump, and then we have Tesla. We have 2 red names. We have Apple's flat, so throw that out. AMD, Amazon up, NVIDIA up, Rigetti up. So 4-2 right now today, and Rigetti's a good one, and AMD's a good one right now as well, tempting to get into some more. But the Tesla one should have been green on that one. Oh, man, great look on Morgan Stanley. I mean, when I used to train and teach traders, like thousands of them back in my old role before the show, just before the show, I would travel around with the prop firm and help traders open up different offices, help them understand things, go through our platform, go through trading styles, do all that, hire traders, everything. At the end of the day, this 136, like that little pullback there into VWAP, that's the trade. Like we always talk about on gaps and on earnings plays, you really want to look at VWAP, but right off the open, maybe not necessarily, but it did work. It comes back in, rips back up, comes back in again, bounces off VWAP early at 936, then goes straight up to 134. Then once it breaks it, you could have tested it again. I think too many tests is problem. Breaks under, then just basically respects VWAP right there. And you have to use tick replay, which is why I say, like, if you go over to eSignal or a platform that does have a tick replay, it's probably a little bit easier for this. But I don't know where VWAP was at the time. I feel like it probably is bouncing off of it there, bounced off of it there for sure. And without a fraction of a doubt, we do have a VWAP bounce right there. So I really like it. VWAP bounce into the high of the day and then a high of the day break. Great look heading into tomorrow on Morgan Stanley. I really like the stock. I think if we broker some more deals this year, which apparently is what's going to happen, you're going to get another bump up even more on their next report. So I really like that moving forward. It's Morgan Stanley. We only have 15% of Rigetti left, but there it is, breaking that top, I think, tomorrow. So congratulations on anything Morgan Stanley related and Goldman Sachs, as these are the banks you want to be in for the M&A activity, and it looks like that was an obvious take.
And trading too. The other side of it, Goldman Sachs had a big beat, and Morgan Stanley, their trade desk, had big beats as well. So revenues looking good, very, very good for those banks. I don't think you want to bet against them. And then don't sleep on the regionals. I think maybe we have some more regional banks coming. We don't really look at them too much, but you're going to have a bunch of regional banks that I think are going to bode a little bit well. XLF doing fantastic. The problem with financials right now are the insurance companies. Everything else is looking pretty good. And for obvious reasons, some of the insurance companies are taking it on the chin. Still think it's a bit of a buying opportunity. Matty Carnes is asking about, is that Matt Carnes or just Matt C? SoFi. Just one quick addendum, because as we come back in, getting a bit of a curl here on a somewhat of a volume spike on Mara. It didn't look weird in the tape, but it's a big volume candle. I think it was just a dark pool print, really, because it did absolutely nothing to the book. when it happens. So my guess is when that happens and I don't see anything crazy in the book, then it's probably just a dark pool. But it's still a bit of a reversal candle coming in here on Mara. Still holding, as a matter of fact, Bitcoin's at 100,600. So we're going to look to get back in, give it to the prior low on Mara. Still a strong move for Bitcoin in general. Like you're breaking back out through the highs. So buying the dip in Mara, I think makes some sense. Your question, Matt, was about SoFi. SoFi is it's up 5% today. There's not much else to say. Broke trend. I think you're headed into some highs. I still have it in my long-term account, but this time, which I didn't do last time it got up here, elected to sell some in the 16 range. So this is actually a couple weeks ago. But SoFi looks to me like a bull flag that was kind of downward trending that just broke the top of the trend line. Hasn't broken the high, but broken the top of the trend line. So I think SoFi looks pretty good and like it can work back into these highs at 17 in the next little bit. So yeah, I'm with the stock. I own it in the long term. Like I didn't buy anything off of these 14s or 15s or a 50 period or anything like that. I was just a buyer at 7 and then sort of watched it go sideways for a very, very long time. And now you're finally getting a little bit of reward. I think it makes sense sometimes to ring the register on stocks like this, at least a little bit.
Yeah, I'm done ringing registers on anything, man. I'm doing exactly what Brendan and I talked about in the podcast, and that is hold forever. Honestly, I'm bullish going into the year. I don't have any. I'm only looking to dip buy fresh capital. Like I haven't really sold anything, to be honest with you, up near these tops. Looking to buy more. I'm staying bullish, and I want to buy more dips. But again, I don't. Not yet, I don't think. I mean, you know, if you get another bump up in a Palantir, like if that goes another 7x this year, then yeah, we'll be getting out of that. I don't think that will happen because, again, a lot of the time when you look at stocks and you try to think like, okay, what's the next play? You've seen these moves like in quantum and all this kind of stuff just kind of go nuts recently. So you got to be very, very careful with some of those plays. I mean, in Palantir, again, only had the opportunity to go to 7x because it was down so much. Like it got... Now, it wasn't even down that much. It was hovering in and around these levels for a very, very long time, 14, 15, things like that, right? And then when it goes up to the upside, it just absolutely blasts off. So Palantir, another huge move up. And I said 7x, but it went 14, it's 4x, 14 to 80. I mean, where was it at the beginning, at the end of the year? I mean, 20, I guess really the high was really pretty much, what is this? This is still daily charts. So Jan 1st or so is around here, $79 or $80. So I guess $12 to $80. So nice move, I guess 5.5 times. We'll see if that happens again. That would mean Palantir would be a $350 stock. I mean, I'll take it, but that would be nice. And we'll see when their earnings do come through. Let me see when that is. I think that's possible. I'm not going to say it's not possible.
350 in the year, this year?
Yeah. Yeah, very, very possible. I don't know. We'll see. Where are the earnings plays? Right here. It is February 3rd. After hours is their next Q4 report. So we'll see what winds up happening. Obviously, there's going to have to be some sort of a crazy short float or something that winds up happening to get that going. But we'll see what this market does bring. I already called for the year. Someone asked me before. I said 8% or so on the S&P 500. So right now, a year to date on the SPY, I could calculate it, just go over and open up trade ideas and get the exact number for this. But right here, we still are down just a little bit, I guess, year to date. I guess, you know what? It's pretty much flat year to date right now on the SPY. So I could see if we do get that rate cut cycle going again, then I could see something special happening with the market, but we'll wait.
Speaking of rates, we got a super chat adjacent to this.
Okay.
Now, there was one from Mela, and apologies to Mela for not getting to this one. Holo about to rip, or Holo, I guess it's a hologram stock, so it's Holo about to rip. You've been warned. I hope it does. I never hope against a stock, but I have it up, and you can sort of see volume non-existent and sort of sitting on the bottom there, not really seeing much action. Apologies there, but you know, it is what it is. The chart speaks for itself. It's going sideways pretty much all afternoon after failing the top this morning. Nimrod, in July, August, people started talking about rotation from tech into smaller caps, Russell Dow. If Trump goes after big tech, which non-tech and or medium caps do you guys like? I feel like most of the reason people thought that that rotation had something to do with we were expecting like 4 rate cuts. You know, we're not getting that. So I think some of the reason why a lot of people liked IWM, just obviously there, or some of the other small caps, it was because it'd be a lot better if we were cutting, and that the cycle has changed a little bit. So, you know, you just mentioned one that I like. We just mentioned one that I like, and that would be SoFi. I think the financials do pretty good. I think fintech does pretty well there. You know, things along the lines of Hood look pretty solid. I think Rivian's
I like Hood.
Rivian's relative strength has been a little bit shocking to me, even though we have that one on the long side. But as a general group, I don't know that I feel that way about, not with the lack of cuts that we're getting this year, right? Like, obviously, things have changed. I think back then it was 4 cuts, and now it's what, maybe 2, maybe 1, I don't know, this year. And that changes everything for the Russell. So, you know, we already talked about a few that are already going that we like. And the Russell is trying to catch a little bit of a bid. I don't know that it's really broken back out yet. But I'd rather be in some individual ones that are strong that I don't think are going to be as sensitive to the Fed this year, because this is just teetering. Like, I still prefer the Qs in a general sense, if that helps.
Okay. All right, so just back over here, we'll just keep going for a little bit. We are getting a nice little downside move again. We just touched $90 there. Rigetti, we're in that name, but we're in and out of it. I mean, we only have that less than 15% left on RGTI, but AMD again. Let's catch a bid. I'm still bidding 86s. Let's see if we can let's just punch some 95s right now. There it is. Okay, we got out some more 95s there. If it falls down, yippee-ki-yay right now. You're seeing me, like, I saw some people, like, I'm having so many outs here. Yeah, I'll get the e-signal 1 second. I have, like, shares. Like, this is why I'm getting out. Like, if the market was really, really moving, then I would just be holding on to this and seeing if it can come back in. But it's like, you know, I have enough of a position here to be able to do this and still put money in my pocket. So I'm not leaving this to chance that this goes back up, right? Like I said, if I had, like on Rigetti, you see me just holding the line. We already got our fill on Rigetti. Like, we talked about where we're getting stopped out here, right? Like, this was a short of 58 into 75, 14 cents. So when we go 60s down to 20s, that's 40 cents into the 200 period. So we take that win all the time. So now when I have less shares, I'm just sitting here chilling on it. But when I have more shares, a much bigger position, like an AMD, I'm getting in and out. So again, that's what we're doing. But one thing that you have to do is make sure that you back test and look at what's working versus what's not working. And right now, I want to say e-signal. E-signal's been trade smarter, not harder. Ramin, is there a roll? We will roll it. Trade smarter, not harder. Upgrade to an elite trading experience right now with e-signal. I actually did a question today with Andre, and it was a question from you guys, and it was about how to trade on your phone. E-signal connects with all of your brokers as well. Download apps, get it all figured out, go into their app store. It's a great spot to get figuring out where your charts are on a mobile, on an iPad, on anything like that. Again, charts that change the game, back testing and scanning. We talked about back testing earlier with eSignal and trying to figure out, hey, how's this been working? What's up with RGTI? What does it look like on certain volume days? Where are the volume spikes coming in? Scanners that are right there, right on. Wow, almost as if we planned that. Screeners, scanners, right on board every single day with eSignal. And the thing is, reliable. For me, it's all about reliability. You know, the more reliable these charts can be, the better and more secure your results will be. All right, because if you're sitting there looking at stale charts, that ain't good. Go scan that QR code ASAP, and then you can join your boy and use eSignal charting every single day. Look, Jay Lee, if Rigetti dumps into 11, that's our target. We're actually bidding there. We're bidding 11.11. We talked about that. That would be fantastic. But again, we're trading a little more shares here. And you guys already know that. We don't have to beat a dead horse. Sharif, Joe, Neil, myself, we'll all trade differently. I'll tend to use a little more shares and scalp out a little bit more. So that's what we're doing right now. We're just getting back and forth, in and out. As the day comes getting a little long in the tooth, right? Do we have any more numbers later on this week or anything?
The big ones aren't. We kind of got the big ones. I'd have to double check. I think we got pretty much the big boy was going to be CPI.
Yeah, we have JB Hunt on earnings.
So here's the thing. I actually think JB Hunt is a pretty important, indicator. Like the transports aren't what they used to be. Like back in the day, obviously before technology boom and chips are everything and tech is everything. I get that. The transports were that was your barometer for the market. Like what are the shippers doing? What are the truckers doing? I have a good friend who owns a trucking company, and it's sometimes you hear some things from him, and it's like sometimes you probably should have listened a little bit closer to some stuff that he was saying around COVID, but it is what it is. But I think JB Hunt's still a bit of a bellwether when it comes to that. Just one quick thing. Apple has now closed, come to my chart for a quick second. Apple has now done a close above the trend since we got in. Like since we get in, there's the high, there is the break of the consolidation low, and then you kind of break this trend with a close up, so my stop moves into here, the prior bar high. Right, so if we're in on a trend reverse, it just bounced off the low of the day. I'm out 229, and then Mara is really, Bitcoin's not doing as much as it was before. You're essentially just hanging off the high, so it did have a bit of a bottoming tail candle, got long, it came right back into the 40s and not really pushing through. I feel like some of this is going to be because you are pulling back here off the highs in Bitcoin. So you're still over 100,000, but you are barcoding the top and not really following through on BTC. And Mara is probably not going to go without that. So stop moves into break even, which also happens to be the consolidation low. No reload on Mara because there's no strength that I'm seeing in Bitcoin. If we break that 35, we just get out that prior bar. It's actually 36. So I said we would trail out of Apple at the even dollar, and that's what we do. We get in on the trend, we get out on the trend, but a 50-cent move there on Apple. But that's what it's doing. The bigger thing is, that's what I should have been doing like earlier today, right? Like I was doing mean reversions in the opposite direction, which is generally speaking not a bad strategy. It works a lot. That said, what Apple was doing, we said this several times, I've never seen Apple do anything like this before. And if you find yourself saying that, then don't apply the same usual strategy to it. Maybe try a different one, which would be, hey, revert it the other direction. When it bounces, look for the reversion of the bounce move. And then suddenly, when you're getting out of longs, you're finding short trades in. Kind of like here. Like if I was long off there, I'd be getting out there. So instead, we go short there, which we should have done right here. But again, that's when you try to get a little bit better. 7 minutes till the imbalances come in. Wow, Morgan Stanley's a beast. It just broke the high of the day again.
Yeah, we talked about that. We really like Morgan Stanley going out. Thank you so much for the question about Morgan Stanley there. So I was just doing the math again, and we don't have very many shares. We have 8% left of AMD, as we did a good job being able to get out of advanced micro devices at these levels. And I went on that sort of rant a little bit there, and I talked about, anyways, our out is right here. If it breaks through 20, we're out, right at VWAP. We went on that little rant about how we have to get out when we see this kind of stuff happening. We'll try to hold something for that big move down. Since then, out there. Now it looks like we're trying to run the top, so good for that if it does go back up to the upside. We just have a jokes piece on for Rigetti right now. We talked about how many shares we have about left, 15% left of this trade. We cannot lose on it, so whatever happens, happens. Our stop is the high of the day. We're looking for an 11 fill down there on RGTI. So we'll see if that does happen. Hopefully it does, and we'll be able to get out of some of that, hopefully, at some point there on Rigetti. So that would be that play. AMD, that call, we've already made it. And again, we're getting lighter and lighter on this. Thanks to Kyle Burdett there, by the way, and Rivian Millionaire in the chat. Yeah, we talked about it a couple years ago, actually. I know you guys have been here for that long. That, I thought that basically the semis, SMH, was replacing the Dow transports. And the reason for that, and you talked about it there too, Kyle, and I talked about it back in the day. I was like, so much talk, obviously, about the space, right? And that even back then, it was like you needed chips to mine crypto. You need chips to do everything, Internet of Things. So we look at that, and then you know that with these sort of hyperscalers, how they work, they're coming and going. So as more expenditures happen for the various companies like Microsoft, Meta, Google, all that, they're going to need chips chips. And
they are the lifeblood of the economy.
Stuff like that. So that's exactly the point.
And the power that runs them.
Yeah,
well, the power that runs the data centers, the power that builds them, and don't say anything, but shipbuilding business is one of the dirtiest industries ecologically out there. And maybe there's not going to be as much pressure on them to be clean in the new administration. Just throwing that out there. So the aggressive spending is going absolutely nowhere for all of these build-outs. I think that's why you like Power this year. I think that's why you still like those builders, ASMLs of the world. And we talked about them. There's only 5 minutes to the imbalances. There's only one thing. The early looks are out, and there's just Nike. KMI is a sell of 1.2 million, but Nike, I think, would get a little bit more interest. Down 1.8 million to the sell side for an early look. And lo and behold, what is Nike doing going into that early look sell imbalance? It's running up. This one could set up, if it drops down on a sell imbalance and then can get a flip, if they're buying it into an early look sell and we get a dip down on a 1.8 million sell imbalance and at 55 you can play this off VWAP, that would be a good setup. That's presuming it comes out as a sell, causes it to pull back, and then at 355 you can catch a bit of a bid. So I think that's at least worth looking at there. So we'll have a look. And we say this all the time, just because an imbalance is one direction doesn't mean that's where the stock is going to go. You never want to think of it in that way. The one time that the imbalance locator is very high probability, I found, is on halts. I've very rarely seen on a stock that is halted intraday and it's got a big buy imbalance that it opens lower than where it halted. That's almost, it's not 100%, but it's very close. It's definitely very close to that for obvious reasons, right? Like if it's halted volatility, that's, it's a big deal. And clearly, if most of the liquidity is imbalanced in one direction or the other, it's very unlikely to open the other way. So we use it for that. All right, so not much happening here in BTC. I like the fact that we have 100,000 on the bid. I don't like the fact that we're not pumping through. So we'll probably just have the reload is at a higher price than we got before. We got 25s before. We're buying 35s this time in front of 35s, and you're just not getting the follow through. And that's, like I said, with IBIT yesterday going parabolic when it broke 100. Like MSTR went a 1% right away. Bitcoin went right away. So we're not getting that. Then the reload, we're just going to get out for a break-even stop. The better prices were off VWAP here on Mora for most of the day. Maybe we get one more chance, but it's only 13 minutes to go.
All right. All right, there you go. So Sharif adding ASML and Bitcoin to his picks. So there we go. So we got UNG,
Okay.
Bitcoin, and ASML. So I will say, great.
Well, you know what? I can
Picks.
say this much. He's liked ASML for a while.
Yeah, of
too,
course.
So
Yeah,
for
good,
sure.
I know. Just telling him great
I think he
picks there as
recently bought
has
that,
responded in the chat. All right, guys. I mean, here we go again. AMD. Let's take a little bit of a bid here at 08. I was actually waiting at 05. We'll still take that if it comes in again. Hit us at 08 right now if we can get it. This is 30 cents. So we're winning. It's 30 cents in the money right now. We're short at 119.37s. It's right here right now. We're starting to get in and out a little bit here because we only have 3 minutes now, 2.5 minutes until those imbalances. So we'll have to pay attention and see if we can get any love back into those names here as we get ready for the closing trade. Again, Rigetti's still flat. AMD is right there. Let's check out what's going on in Amazon. We did have a great trade on Amazon. Amazon's actually your P&L number too. Today we had a great trade there off of this 222 bid. But at the end of the day, it did break and we got out and there it goes falling back down. And this is how we trade. We talk about that over and over again. As you'll always see me with tons of outs, and there it falls right back in. All right, Adair's got news.
Somehow we have even more TikTok-related breaking news here at the end of the day. We've had a lot of headlines with regards to whether or not TikTok will go dark or be banned by Sunday, January 19th, but all of these stories have basically been on Trump's side. Now, ABC News reporting that Biden's administration, of course outgoing as of January 20th, does not plan on taking any action that would force TikTok to immediately go dark on Sunday, January 19th as planned. So a bit unclear what that means because that administration is already technically passed and the Supreme Court hasn't yet commented. But either way, seems like it could be a tense 2-3 days now leading up to this potential ban on January 19th, guys. Back to you.
Potential. Well, there's options out there that I know some people have been talking about. Not that I will be partaking in any of them. Red Hat or whatever people are moving on to. It doesn't really matter. What I'm tracking right now, so Nike with that sell imbalance is breaking back in through these highs. With about 1 minute to go till the imbalance come out. Still an early look sell of 1.8 million shares. I do see silver in there, 1.3. KMI, but that's probably not going to move too much on KMI. I'm going to be eyeballing this if there's a close trade to be had. Yeah, Bitcoin is not going to hold that 100. It might not hold that 100K. We'll see if we can get a bounce off that like late in the day. I think it's a key. The close doesn't matter for Bitcoin. It's a 24-hour market, but psychologically, I think it would be to hold the bid when the markets are at the low to hold over 100K. I think would be a big deal, at least for Bitcoin. My eyeballs will be on Nike. We're out of our Apple short. I think it was the right decision to get out of Mara at that last break even. At some point, the bounce is just going to stop. Red note, that's what it's called. Not that I'm going to use it.
Yeah, I know nothing about that. Okay, so I know about it, but I'm not, obviously if I don't download it, we don't have to worry about it. Here we go, 3, 2, and 1, here we go. The imbalances are coming out right now, so let's have a quick look. Rigetti, we already know our stop. If that comes out, we'll figure out what it is. It's Apple to the downside, but no, or to the buy side. Sorry, nice little move there. Up for Apple, 238 up to 238.50. NVIDIA also a buy, probably helping AMD. The good thing about AMD is we just got another fill right down there at 119.02. So all good, man. If we wind up getting stopped out now, it's on even less shares because we just got 3 more outs since we put in that stop. So all good on that one. Tesla also sending it up to the upside there today. So, hey, man, in what's going to be a very, very green day for us right here, it looks like at the end of the day, you'll get a few sells and a few buys back there. There's Rivian with a sell as well on that end of it, not moving around too much. Palantir did pull back quite a bit there, down $1 in the last half hour. PLTR, what's up, ADARA?
We do actually have here somehow more catalysts at the end of the day, specifically for these GLP-1 stocks. This is Eli Lilly up here. We do have here the FDA chief in California saying that the current regulations are, quote, not enough to protect Americans from the risks of compounded GLP-1 drugs. So keep an eye on NVO, LLY, and HIMS. Eli Lilly still up about 2%, but I definitely needed a rebound after that guidance change on Tuesday. So LLY not too affected, but be aware of these GLP-1 drugs, especially heading into tomorrow, guys. Back to you.
So I was asked about this penny stock. I'll give you my thoughts on it. I was just looking at Toronto. Their Nike, by the way, is only going up. This is exactly what I mean. It actually came out nothing. It was 1.8. I like to leave it up so I know where we started, but it's actually nothing. You're not even on here over 300,000. So that actually caused it to spike to the upside, which makes sense. If people were expecting a sell imbalance and it comes out as nothing or small sell or a buy, you get a spike to the upside. So that puts that trade out the window. It was BAMRA or Biomerica that I was asked about. I think when this happens on a penny stock, it's usually about as bearish as it gets, which is tried to go off $1, which I was long it off the dollar level. This morning, all saw it broke $1. Obviously, you could have just shorted it right there, but I didn't short it till the flat bottom broke 65 cents. It got about down to 55 and is trying to battle back. Penny stocks that fail the dollar, I generally speaking think are in a world of trouble. The only good look is it's actually got some technicals here at the 70 level, which makes some sense. Like this is a pretty solid close if it can close out and about the 70 level. So technically it looks pretty good. But this to me, I still would look tomorrow for short first because it's a repeat offender where it doesn't usually do much after a first day of retracement like this. A couple of times it's caught a bit of a better bid, but the bigger parabolic moves have tended to reverse almost right away with this stock. That's what it does in its history, and it failed the dollar today, so I just probably think it's going to be a short. Looking at it tomorrow. We had to pay for locates on this, but they were fractions upon fractions of cents on this stock. Alan Newton Jr., yep, they're strong. IonQ continues to go. The relief rally is real when it comes to these quantum names, for sure. I talked my wife out of selling that QBTS for sure with that. Got to hang on for the dream.
Okay. All right. Like I said, if there is any questions, man, just tag us. We will be here for you.
Don't mess with me, John Womack.
Today, do not mess John Womack today. So, yeah, good day overall. I mean, we started to pad out some of our stats here at the end of the day with AMD. There's a nice move to the downside, man, over 40 cents now as AMD pulls back. We just gave you the short right there again off VWAP. That was my out. So if you guys took it as another short, great. I mean, it's falling back in right now as we get lighter and lighter on this position. So, all right, here we go. Tag me, TQQ breaking lower, says Adam DeLuz. Good job there. I mean, the futures right now are breaking as well. I still want to wait for 21,000, Adam. I mean, I think like that might be eventually where we wind up stopping there at the bottom side of this trade. I mean, there's reasons why we're here. I mean, you can clearly see we're making money right now, and it's on AMD as well. There it goes to the downside. Nice move there on AMD, just back in. So we actually wind up getting a 90 fill there. And then it just bumps right back up. So I actually just punched a little bit more out on the way back up. I appreciate you, Rivian Millionaire. I just hope that we can show you winning trades. That's why, like, I'm about talking about that, right? Like what we're doing, how we're all doing, and things like that, because it's like watching, how can you watch a football game not knowing the score, right? I mean, I think that's like one of the things. So if you do have any questions about that, please feel comfortable to do it. Okay, there goes AMD, Neil. It is coming back in one more time. Down now 50 cents. Look at this move on Advanced Micro Devices. We're just going to start punching some out. There it is, man, 60 cents as we spin it around, back and forth and around again. AMD, huge move down there to the downside. So, yeah, man, we'll go 2 for 2 big time here this afternoon. In trading. So AMD, big move downside. Rigetti, big move downside. Yeah, we really took advantage of what we thought about. And not only that, the best part about these trades is like we discussed these trades with you, where the risk was, what we were doing. Even when we were in here, we said we had 30 cents or even less than that risk, right? So there to the bottom, now you're even higher than that. In the money now 70 as we continue to go a little lower here. Maybe we'll just get out of Mom's Spaghetti here because Rigetti, 49s there. We'll punch some 49s. We're out at 58, so we already got some good bids down here. We only had 15% left. Now we have 10% left. I'm also on the bid at 42. I don't know what will hit or what won't hit coming into the close. So maybe we do get a little bit of a downside push. I'm just ironically at 11.11. I don't think that's going to fill. So there we go. We'll put another bid at 50 and we'll figure it out as we go to the downside there. So yeah, nice move there as we come back in.
Yeah, and there was obviously everything flipped there at the end of the day. There, NVIDIA flipped, Apple flipped, small bounce on Apple when it did maybe, 20, 30 cents, 50 cents off the top, off the bottom, I should say, on Apple. Clearly, it's better to join it late than never. But Apple, like, let's be real, this stock it's still in a big bleed. And there were a couple people in the chat that were saying Apple 225 last week. And I tend to agree with them, at least the way that we're going. But a little bit of a relief rally. 355 reversion moves happen often. The chips are taking it on the chin. I think we made the right call to get out of Mara. The long worked the first time we took it. It did work slightly the second time, but now you're dropping the bid pretty much everywhere. You don't want to hold on to it forever. Despite the fact that we're holding 100K, no hold on Mara. And yeah, Beantown Patriot, good name, except for the fact that obviously I'm a Bills fan. Palantir rolls over, not just underneath VWAP, but that 70 level. 70 has been a big one for Palantir for a while here. Like, it's kind of one of those over-unders. I thought this was clear, close over 70, and then you had a $5 gap to work with tomorrow. Unfortunately, you're getting a little bit of the other thing as Palantir loses the bid. So might have to consider this in the other direction tomorrow. I was going to be bullish on this stock over under that 70 level. I think we're going to have to change our tune. Tomorrow, I just got to be able to look at Morgan Stanley. The earnings continuation play, we saw it with, Goldman looks pretty good. I think like Robinhood's been doing okay, but you are now at the 52-week high. You're probably not breaking it. And if you do, you're doing it at the end of the day here, which will be on light volume. But you've got a double top clearing out in a blue sky setup for Morgan Stanley. Sometimes day one of those early morning earnings, I don't like them, but that day two play, I like on Morgan Stanley. I do own this one, candidly, in my long-term account. Not that I've been sitting there accumulating. I just put the dividend right back in. So about 2 minutes to go in here for the future. Like I said, Nike's not going to do much of anything. I'm probably just going to see what Apple can do if it can close off the bid here today. Because if they're still, they're still selling it as we speak, and this is probably the weakest I've seen Apple in a long time. I want to see if there's anybody buying this at the end of the session. Probably could have held on to it, but I trend in, trend out, and it's now once again trending to the low of the day. About 1 minute to go, everybody. If there's anything else that you have, any last minute questions, let us know. But we're apparently going to the desk with Adair one last time.
Just keep an eye here on RIO. So we know earlier there were some reports that Glencore is approaching Rio Tinto for a takeover. Now, Reuters reporting that actually this approach happened late 2024, but the talks are brief and, quote, no longer active. So these Rio Tinto acquisition talks may actually be over, guys. Back to you.
Let's just go, man. I mean, we'll spin it one more time. We have less than 45 seconds left, but there's Rigetti. It just fell out, and we got it. So there it comes, really pushing back in for Rigetti. The bangers happen again, man. We have Rigetti today. Like, you want, like, small cap gappers? Like, Rigetti right there, perfect trade. And then we also have right now $1 on AMD as we just stay true to what we're doing around here, man. It's not rocket science. It's actually quite simple. Join me tomorrow. And we'll be able to do this all over again. So huge move there at the end of the day with only 10 seconds left. Again, I'll be green here today and quite nice. So I hope everyone else had a very, very successful day with only 2 seconds left and one. Ring that bell. We are now closed. Adara. All right. Yeah, good show today, Neil. We'll go back over to the desk. We got Chris Brecher coming through. There you go, Jay Lee, man. What do you mean? You told me Rigetti was going to go to the downside. Come on. And that's why we talk about this show. Judge us for how we trade, right? I mean, that's why we show our trades. You could clearly see them right there on the desk. So, all right, Neil, kill him with kindness. I'm going to go back over to the desk and, again, work some more.
Yeah, let's get going here. And obviously, the market going to close at lows. For most of the day, we're kind of flat, but now the NASDAQ 0.7 to the downside, the ES only 0.2 because tech got wrecked. Let's be real about it. Not all of tech, but a lot of it. Apple, there wasn't any buying on the close. You're always going to get a big volume candle, but that candle is right at the low of essentially the low of the day. Like, we closed pennies off the low of the day on Apple with volume. That's about as bearish as it's going to get, everybody. So clearly that was one that you want to join. Better late than never, right? Like, at the end of the day, you find one that's strong, and tomorrow you find one that's short, that's a short in Apple. And I was going to say NVIDIA, but Tesla closing 3% to the downside as well. So looking really, really nasty. Then you saw there at the end, it was NVIDIA on the, like right at 350. You're going to see this one drop now 2% to the downside. NVIDIA took it on the chin. This is with TSM having a monster earnings day, bringing the chips to the upside. Want to give a big shout out to Ramin on the ones and twos. Thank you for getting us that Sharif breakdancing video. That was fun to watch. Big shout out to our entire team. Of course, Andre doing some social media stuff. You're going to see a lot of fun stuff coming from our socials as well. So keep a lookout for some of the videos that we're going to be dropping. Shout out to Fabian. Shout out to the Bash brothers, as always, doing a fantastic job. Yeah, the Playmaker poll going long today was probably not going to have too much of a chance. But you know what time it is? It's time for the after-market recap show at the desk. You've got Sean, you've got Adara, and the return of Chris Brecher.
It's hard to go back and forth. Hey, Adara, how's it going?
Hey.
Adara and I just talking about how, some days are great trading days, some days aren't.
Being real about how trading went.
Yeah, exactly. And I was just telling her today was a good day, and I know you had a day today as well. We'll review some of your trades, and Neil's reviewing. We're all reviewing our trades every single day. And okay, good. And what sparked this was the trade ideas charting was not working up here. So I was like, I'm going to have to show all of my charts, which have my trades on them. So I wanted to go over that. And then we started talking more about trading. And all right, here we go. So Tesla, we do have JB Hunt coming out today as well. We do have our good friend Chris Brecher back on the show, so we'll welcome Chris back on ASAP at about 4:15. He'll come through. Looking at what we've seen here, RFIO is now out. RFIO, is that a big? No. Oh, no, don't tell me some of these names aren't working again. Okay, so we're okay. Romeo, Foxtrot, India, Lima. Oh, RFIL right there. Okay, so not a big stock at all. But we're getting some earnings coming through. We will have JB Hunt coming in a minute. Good day today overall in the market, I feel like. We did have a bounce back in the middle of the day. Why am I still on RFIL? So let's have a quick look. The NASDAQ does not finish well now that I see this actually come back in. So not a great end of the day there for the NASDAQ. We started pretty hot. We did get I guess today we had the CPI, the PPI. We come through today with a small little jobs number. Doesn't really hit the market too hard at 8:30. You can see that reaction a little bit. Then we make that way up. The funny thing was today, and I mean, Neil and I talked about this. I talked about it all day as well. I was pretty bullish. I thought today we did have some bullish ideas. We wound up going long on NVIDIA early. We went long on Apple. We went long on Amazon. But we still wind up a pretty positive day because we're able to be risk tolerant. And that means is like once the risk started to get against us, we were able to stop out of some of our spots, but still take on enough risk that when it popped back up, we're able to take advantage of some of those plays. So we'll go over some of those names. Again, I know I've said Neil a bunch of times here today, but he talked about Apple early, and this name really came in pretty much all day and ending the day pretty nasty. Adara, I don't know how we can figure this out, but I don't remember the last time Apple was down 4% and the NASDAQ was down 0.7. Like this is a big, and it was probably earnings, you know.
It probably even wasn't because Apple does not make these, like I think last time I was reading, like Apple was down like just under 3%, like maybe a couple of weeks ago, and it was like, oh, that's its worst day since October. Like Apple, Sharif calls it the dead one for a reason, and that's because
he's canceled that, I think.
Well, no, but just because generally it doesn't make parabolic moves in either direction. That's not to say it's a bad stock. It's obviously not. But that's to say as an intraday trader, it's not always the most parabolic. So you're right. For it to move 4% today is super significant. If Tesla and NVIDIA move 4%, we don't even shrug. We're like, okay, cool. It's whatever. Yeah,
earlier on in the day when Neil was going over this, I didn't even realize like how badly it had actually broken below now, especially after today, below that 50-period moving average. You now find yourself basically, if this is the 200, this is the 50, you're at like a 100-period or so moving average, which I don't call up, but there it is right there. A nice move back in for Apple. I think it's getting close to buying something at some point here on AAPL. All right, JB Hunt, we're getting that news out right now. So it's JBHT. We type that in, we push enter, then we flip it over into a 3-minute chart and see what's going on right now for JB Hunt. Adara will get those earnings to us in just a couple of seconds. But here's what it looks like on a chart. Not great. Nice push down right now for JBH into 182. We'll see if it can wind up holding that move right now. So the numbers are now out. Again, transport name. We're going to find out more from Adara right now. I don't like when I look over to you and you have kind of a sick feeling look on your face there for JBHT. So give it to us, Adara.
I mean, as we say, there's no such thing as good or bad earnings. It's only how the market reacts. I mean, clearly the market's reacting to the downside, though, for JBHT. And I have a feeling maybe why. We did have apparently Q4 earnings of $1.53 per share, below estimates of $1.63. Their sales of $3.15 billion were in line with estimates. So inline sales, but an EPS miss today for JBH. I'll continue reading through their report. If I see anything of interest, I will let you guys know. But an EPS miss and inline sales combined, that's not a great look. There's no beats here on top or bottom line, I guess.
It's funny because we have our good friend Chris Bretcher back on. I'm going to welcome him back onto the show. We really love having Chris back with us. He always talks about the transport. So I mean, how perfect is that? It's like he sent an email. He wanted to talk about some of the gaps that he's seen since the election, and some of those gaps have been filled. I won't spill the beans. He's going to come on, show us some examples. We're really glad to have Chris back on. I can't wait to talk to him. A good friend of the show and a longtime friend as well. Okay, there's JB Hunt. Just quickly over here on the daily chart, as we just talked about that report, 187, a nice little high there. Fading back in, 180 for a 50-period moving average. Could be something. We'll figure out what's going on with JBHT. But let's just have a quick look at some of the broader names today. And then we'll look at the sectors after. So just Apple, we highlighted that, down 4+%. Not a good look for Apple. NVIDIA, fool me once, man. And we'll see if we get fooled tomorrow. I thought NVIDIA was going to go green today, but it did not. Down 2% at the end of it all. We had a banger of a short. We took $1 at the end of the day there on AMD. Here's our short. There's Rigetti. Oh boy, Rigetti actually hits that $11 mark, or close enough to it at the end of the day. There's the short on Rigetti that we took on that move upside here. People are going to be like, man, who is this madman when you look at the chart and how I trade? But I try to do a good job of telling you guys about the share sizes and things like that. We don't want to spill the beans about, exactly the amount of shares that we all trade. But at the end of the day, there's the move down. I wish we were patient enough. It's at it's $1 there with the bottom play. As AMD, we tried to short it into this sort of afternoon high. We were lucky enough that it popped up, gave us our big position there, and then the fall in. Now, we started getting a lot out at the 50 period, but 19 eventually doesn't hold, brings it down to the downside. AMD today down 1.2+% over there. Just quickly, I want to bring that up because AMD, for once in its lifetime, I think, just joking, down less than NVIDIA. Google today on the mouth, and Meta punch in the mouth. Amazon minus 1.2%. And oh boy, I don't know if Chris Bretcher owns a Tesla or not, but Tesla down today, 3.36%, continuously going lower right there. Interesting play today for health technology. I've been really interested in XBI. So that ETF, the biotech space, I've really been liking this, but it has gotten a move down as rates apparently not going any lower than where we are right now. So cut, I think was July, right? That's that sort of next rate cut spot. Look at Lilly. I know Dara likes that name.
Yeah.
J&J as well. AbbVie, all of them. Abbott upside, even Pfizer going. Gilead downside. VRTX. This is Viking, right? No, Vertex. Sorry. Viking is, I'll figure out that name in a minute now.
VKTX.
VKTX.
Yeah, and they're not
Okay,
on the
yeah,
or the SPY, they're not on the SPY.
Right, exactly. So there it is. So I was going to talk about that because that was a play that Neil talked about a couple times as well. All right, well, just a couple minutes. We'll bring on Chris. Let's just go over some of the broader names here. We don't have too many earnings hitting at all. It was really just JB Hunt there. And they were, I mean, Dara brought us the numbers, relatively flat, not much of a move happening today at all. All right, small caps today were all about what was talking about, right?
Wild,
We had DATS going through today. Look at this move in DATS.
That's
This is just,
up.
yeah, that is what's up today. Huge move all the way up to $8.92 the last couple of days. But today it gets as high as $6, fades back out just a little bit. We'll see where DATS can go from there. It really got going early, I guess, on in the day here. We got even maybe a 3-minute chart, maybe a 5-minute chart to get that look right off the jump, man. That $4 spot, huge move up there for DATS, up 34% at the end of the day. But look at that move higher. Do not like sleep on these top wicks. You know, Neil was trading some of these smaller names. I'm not sure if he was in DATS, but you got to watch out for those top wicks. And then volume. We don't have volume on here. I have RSI. I don't know how much RSI means to small cap names, relative strength.
That's true, yeah, they move a little bit differently.
But at the end of the day, it was barcoding up here for a minute. This is a 5-minute chart. Eventually we fall. We break the $6 mark and down into $5.50. We'll look to see if we get a nice little move on that one as well. I traded Amazon today. I really like this name. I feel that Amazon does have, find the date for me, because we know Apple is the 30th of January. We'll see when
Amazon's usually a couple days before Apple.
Yeah, so we'll see when Amazon reports. So again, this is what we talk about when we talk about risk management. Amazon falls right in, and I actually like this 222 level. We'll show it to you on a larger time frame, but dip buying it and then getting out as it rips. Look at the failure on the 50-period moving average, right? That's these pink lines. So you get this little fail in there, and once we notice that, it's a quick out once we breach that 22 level, 222 level. So as soon as we get out of that, you just see an epic fall. So that's why you got to watch out for some of these 50-period moving averages. And again, look, we'll put on whatever, 300 shares, 500 shares, depending on what it is. And every time it dips up, we just keep on getting out. Like we can get like 30 shares, 20 shares, 50 shares, depending on the level. That's how we're trading these names these days and waiting for bigger moves. We had a huge move yesterday in Tesla, and then we held on to about 5 or 10% for that AMD push downside as well. Scalping is a good game, but you got to manage your fees. That's one thing that we always learn here, especially at Real Trading, as we continue to talk more and more about our fees. LRCX, Lam Research, had a good day today, up over 4%. As many sectors green. We actually had a good day up. I'm going to call up my other sector board. We had a good day recently. USO. So oil, not great today. We had UNG with a downside. I believe UNG was down. I think it was less than expected. It was a drawdown, actually, on nat gas today. So we'll have a quick look there. Uranium downside as well. We'll have a look at UNG. But USO with energy, look at this. It's at a 5-month high. Right, actually more than that. What am I talking about? March rate here, we just took out, and this was today, right? So we were actually going back to July highs, but it looks like today we actually take out March, and we go all the way back into here, into September of 23. So right now, especially with that ceasefire, you would maybe think that potentially energy pulling back in. So if you do enjoy this move higher, watch out right now. Ceasefire. Donald Trump has come in and said, hey, look, new regime, you better settle that out there in Palestine and so on and so forth. Now, that's not a huge oil-bearing part of the world, but the Middle East gets involved because Iran starts talking about this and so on and so forth. We'd like certainty in the world in order to benefit from oil going down. Yes. If there's uncertainty, oil will go up. But you know who might know more about this is Chris Bretcher.
Also, Amazon hasn't confirmed their earnings.
They haven't confirmed their earnings date?
No, they have not. I'm seeing speculation of February 6th. That seems incredibly late because most of the other Mag 7, even like Tesla's reporting the same day as Meta and Microsoft, which never happens. They're always a week early.
You're right.
They're reporting, I believe, the day before Apple, so it's January 29th, I believe. I am not, though, I would like to repeat, I am not seeing Amazon. I'm not seeing Alphabet either.
Okay, so right here, just so you know, it does say unconfirmed, but I'll just show you what you're seeing too. In Benzinga here, it's January 30th, as we just mentioned, but unconfirmed. I don't know why that is. I mean, normally these big companies will have that. That might be something about Benzinga, or about you're not finding it anywhere else.
No, I'm not finding it anywhere.
Okay, look, it's been a very, very long time. Are we ready, Ramin? I don't want to make this man wait any longer. I mean, he's been waiting for a long time. We're very, very happy to have him back. Let's go with Trader Talk with Chris Bretcher. Mr. Bretcher, how are you doing?
Hey there. Fine. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, too. It's been a hell of a long time, and we are so glad to have you back on the show. What a wild year it's been. We're going to talk about a few things. How are you doing? How's the health? The last time we talked, you were going through a few things. What do you want to tell us?
Well, first thing is, it was interesting. I triple broadcast this morning and got them short the NASDAQ and short Amazon.
Boom.
So I just basically, I try to tell Simpler that I want to humiliate myself in as many places as possible. But this time it worked.
Right.
So,
yeah. Let's, very, very humble right there. But yeah, great call earlier on this morning. And look, I don't know, do you want to get right into it? I mean, if you had the call from the open, what gave you that thought? Was it something about the past numbers? Was there something in today's jobs? What was it that you were looking at where you got most of your guys short there this morning? Great call.
Well, the first thing is it's really tough when I'm on the first hour because, there's the urge to definitely show them a great trade. Well, I'm actually on a half hour before the open, a half hour after the close, after the opening, half hour before. And a lot of times it takes things to develop. So this time I was on an hour later in multiple rooms and then it developed. I'll be happy to show you. It's fine. But I thought you'd like to see this first in Apple. If you can see my chart. Companies usually voluntarily don't buy back stock 5 weeks prior to earnings. It's not mandatory. So they can't buy back the last 10 minutes. I know we've talked about that a lot. But the reason I'm showing you this, it doesn't mean Apple has to go down when they're in their buyback blackout. But what it means is if they have, let's say, some China handset sales or somebody downgrades, it's more likely to nail it when they can't prop up the stock. And that's what happened this morning. So that they couldn't prop it up when somebody came out and said handset sales might be less than expected.
But I mean, look, Chris, I appreciate that theory and that logic and everything like that, and it's probably dead on. But it's like, that was such a dramatic move, and they haven't been able to buy back shares. They haven't been able to buy back shares yesterday. They weren't able to buy back shares the day before that, but Apple still was able to catch a bid. So I just wonder, honestly, and we talked about this live on the show, Apple's had many 10 to 15% pullbacks. Even if you zoom back out for the last 2 or 3 years, we nailed about 4 or 5 of them as we talked about them live on our PM show. This is just another one of those pullbacks. Do you think that there's going to be a buying opportunity at any point for Apple, or is this in that wait to see? Like, do we wait for earnings, or do we start to nibble right now? Earnings apparently January 30th, so we're only talking about 2 weeks.
Yeah. Also, by the way, I know somebody that you mentioned about Amazon. We were talking about that the last hour because somebody wanted to sell puts in there for the end of January to collect premium. And I'm like, their earnings are coming out. They're like, no, they're coming out in February. I'm like, that's pretty far out. So about the only way I know how to do it is to go into Amazon on, whatever platform you use and look at when the vol goes up. So you see here, January 24th, it's 26%.
Right.
But January 31st, it's 40%.
Right.
So it sure seems to me that it's before January 31st, like you were saying.
Great. I mean, I'm just going to, let's do that. I'm going to hit this calculation button because honestly, that's a great way to look at that. Go over into the volatility, implied volatility in the options chain. So Adara right there, great point for that again as well. Okay, let's get to work right now, Chris, because you had messaged me about some of these pullbacks from the election. Right now we have inauguration coming. Obviously on Monday it will be MLK Day, so the market won't be open. I'm not expecting any fireworks or anything. I think as we get some of the cabinet ministers and members and all that appointed, we'll see where we go from there and what that means to some of the different ETFs. But what has really caught your eye, as you mentioned there, that we're starting to fill some of that gap, and some of them have been filled all the way back down into now we lose some of that post-election sort of euphoria, and now we start to focus more on earnings. So what is catching your eye, and what can we talk about as we enter a very, very important earnings season?
All right, well, number one, the reason that we faded today was because of the development of the NASDAQ intraday. But we wanted to really fade a rally tomorrow because people might be nervous about what could happen on Monday with any kind of announcements. But that's why we were fading the NASDAQ today. And like I said, we faded it on that red line here, right here. So that's where we faded. It took a while to develop. So we love to have a bear flag at a top like that. So that's why we shorted right there. So you were asked, and I told people, luckily, the NASDAQ's going to be down more than 100. So that was that. Now, the other thing is, with worried about what could happen on Monday with any kind of tariffs, that's why I thought the market would flatten before the close tomorrow, because people are worried. But when you were asking about the gaps, I wanted to show you all that. So basically what we were saying is that so many times with elections, and we were going back to 1980. I mean, that's when I started in the business. And we were talking about the election euphoria gap. And the reason that we picked on 1980, not because that's when I started, but that was the whole thing with Reaganomics. That everybody said, oh, that would help the markets tremendously because lack of regulation, tax cuts. But the reason I'm bringing it up is because back then was also when the bond market was still getting nailed or the yields were going straight up. So what happened was the markets gapped up on the election euphoria gap. They came down to test where they were November 1st, and then they had an inauguration rally. And believe it or not, all this I put on StockTwits before it happened. So, I mean, not back then. I mean, now, about how history repeating itself. So you had the interest rates going up, but you had the euphoria because lack of regulation and Reaganomics. But believe it or not, interest rates kept going up for 18 months until Volcker cut the rates in August of 82. So you had an 18-month bear market, even though the administration was really pro-companies. So really interesting. And then the more fascinating is that if you fast forward into now, the markets did the same thing. So they had the election euphoria gap. Then you came down to test it almost to November 1st. And now you're having that inauguration sort of rally. And it doesn't mean the day of the inauguration. It's that little zone in here. And then we're going to look for short ideas, but we're going to wait and see if there's indecision and then follow through like a down candle. You don't have that yet. You're close. So we're not exactly looking at the 50 moving average, which is the red, as the resistance, because in 1980, it blew through it. So you get those short squeezes that are pretty ugly if you're short. But we're looking for reversal patterns after the inauguration. And if we see, let's say, an hourly bearish pattern. Right now, I don't see an hourly. We only saw like a 5-minute, and that's why we just played it intraday. So that's what we're looking for, number one. And number two is the probability of this filling that election gap. It wasn't just because of 1980, it is because so many indexes had already filled it. So you had the Dow, you had the transports, You had the utility, all to there. The utilities, I'm using just the ETF. And you had the Russell. All of them filled it, so the probability is that the SPX was. And so that's what we were going on with that. But the next thing to watch is that if the SPX is going to do what it's done so many other times, which is healthy, is to go back to the 200 moving average. And the reason I'm showing you that is because the Russell, the Dow, the XOU, they all filled the election gap, and then 4 out of the 5 went to the 200 moving average. In fact, the only averages that are decisively above it are the S&P and the NASDAQ. And that doesn't mean straight down, just like 1980. It just means eventually, I think it goes to the 200. Do I know why? I don't know what's going to come out. All I know is we were showing crude oil that there was no reason for it to rally except for this trend line that worked. About that trend line. So that was also posted on StockTwits when it was under 70. So theoretically, I think in the next 2 months, you're going to see the SPX test the 200.
Hi, thank you so much, Chris, for being here with us today and taking us on that tour back to the 80s to show some of these patterns here. Also, thank you for going over that implied, I guess, volatility for options ahead of earnings. So with that in mind, other than Amazon, are there any particular names you're watching this earnings season? Because we're a couple weeks away from the big tech names reporting.
Yeah, it's, I'm like a trading nerd, so I'm always looking up things in historical precedents and all that. And the first thing I like to go over when I'm looking at earnings is the first batch of earnings. Did they have any price reaction or unusual option activity I should know about? So the first thing we're seeing is the stocks that are rallying into earnings are then having a muted reaction after earnings. And if they're selling off into earnings, they rally. And because the bar is so low, just like UNH, who rallied right into earnings and got nailed today. So that's the first thing we're seeing is stocks that are rallying into earnings, regardless of the group, are having a habit of selling off. And the stocks that are selling off into earnings are rallying. At least that's what we've seen so far. When it comes to unusual option activity, we're not seeing much, but here you go. Taiwan Semiconductor got nailed into earnings and then rallied. So it's all about the bar being too high or too low. When I get to the Apples of the world, well, the way I'll tell you, I'm actually looking above the market after earnings because almost every time that it's sold off prior to earnings, all these times after the earnings, no matter what the earnings, it rallies because they can resume the buyback. Almost every single time it rallies after earnings. So I'm going to wait till after earnings and then position over the market if it stays down like this.
So Chris, so we think that Apple does have a chance to get above current above the high. Then if we do get a rally, is that what we're thinking?
That's a good question. It just seems to me that when it's had these rallies, like you get the sell-off.
Yep.
Usually it rallies a teeny bit before earnings, like it did here and here. But will it go to mean Apple this time doesn't have the kind of reaction I'm expecting? But keep in mind that even in July when the markets got nailed, that was a low right after earnings, even though the overall markets were going down. So I don't know about a new high. I really want to see, I don't mind positioning above it after earnings, but I don't know about new highs because I'm still worried about so many indexes not reaching their lower objective first. And it doesn't mean I'm a perma bear whatsoever. I just think it would be healthy if they did test it. They tested it
January 29th. Okay, one more question, Chris, and make it quick, okay? Because I just want to have a couple more things to talk about. I wanted to ask you, I don't know if you heard me in the green room, what about gold? And again, you've been talking about, and I want to say a shout out to you, man. You're the guest that we've had that's been in the game the longest. You're getting a lot of love on the chat. You have a big profile over there on StockTwits. So I want to shout out, people can find you on StockTwits, Simpler Trading you mentioned as well, and Simpler Trading. And where else can they find you? Are you on X at all? Or StockTwits is probably the best place to go get you?
I'm on X. I have like 3,000 followers. It's more StockTwits that has like 57,000.
Kabam, right there. All right, what about gold? That's what I wanted to ask you right now, because we always talk about tech names. We go back and forth with all these big tech names. But if you're trying to diversify your portfolio a little bit, we always hear about, hey, let's get a little bit into gold. Well, GLD right now, it holds the 50-period moving average. And right now, Chris, I know that there's, look, are we going to break 2670 or whatever it was right back there on Halloween? I don't know. But it looks to me like gold's found a base down here in and around 240 on GLD and looking higher. Look, for me, a simple man, I think gold right now should be in pieces of portfolio, especially if you are overweighted tech names. What do you think about gold moving forward in 2025?
All right. Well, don't laugh about this. If I'm going to buy gold futures, I'd rather buy platinum.
Okay.
Because the platinum gold ratio, ever since I was in the business, platinum was always over gold. And I know there's industrial stuff and all that, but the ratio right now is about the lowest I've ever seen it. So if I'm going to play an up move in gold, I'd rather play it with platinum.
Okay, good little look there. We have SLV as well, platinum going through. Good little look there. Let me write that down. We're going to write that down, platinum. Next time we have you on, we're going to discuss that and some of the theories that we just had about everything. Interesting to see JB Hunt today, as you and I always talk about the transports. But Chris, we're running out of time. It's already 4:30, so welcome back to the program. Promise me you'll come back again.
Yeah, sure. Anytime. I'm always trading. I'm in front of the screen, 10 hours a day. So anytime you need me, I'm here.
Yeah, I think you and I won alike. So thank you so much. It's Chris Bretcher. Go find him anywhere. Google the name, Chris Bretcher. Go find him on StockTwits. Thank you so much, Chris. Have a good one. Be well, and we'll see you hopefully maybe next week. It's Chris Bretcher, and that's Trader Talk.
That'd be great.
Thank you, Chris.
All right. I didn't want to interrupt Chris. He just went on crazy run there about going back to the 80s. And I just thought, when we're talking about election, I wanted Chris to sort of finish off there, give a couple good trading ideas. The chat was all over it. So thank you so much to Chris. Okay, Nucleus has had quite the run, NUKK. Yeah. A lot of you have discussed this in the chat. I'm watching the chat. Adair's watching the chat. We are not leaving you guys. So here's Nucleus up 70%. But look what's happening right now in the after hours. Boom goes the dynamite. It's starting to go upside there. Do we have news on this, Adara?
We do. So basically, I saw some people talking about this in the chat earlier as well. But basically what happened was apparently they've resolved their NASDAQ delisting threat. Okay. That is a quote. That is not my wording. They also said they've achieved compliance across all key parameters. Also, though, it's worth noting this company has a tendency, from what I can see in Benzinga, for random press releases. Tuesday at 2:25, they did a press release about how their management is, quote, reflecting on the growing appetite for defense innovations. Just be very careful. This is a really pumpy and dumpy type stock. We know this one had that pretty big run a couple weeks ago as well. So NUKK, extreme caution should always be used because it can go nuclear in either direction.
Oh, we like that one. Shout out to Kyle Burdett and everybody in the chat because I agree 100%. They love Chris coming on. He's a historian of the market, great facts, great look back, and really gives you that sort of like honest opinion on what's been happening in the market and gives you sort of been through it, right? It's like that war sort of tested, battled trader. Thank you, Chris, for coming on again. But you know what time it is right now? It's roll call.
I do.
Roll call. There it is, roll call. In order for it to be roll call, you have to push the right button. So we do that right now as well. Look, thank you everybody for joining us. Over 2,500 of you stayed late. So we want to thank you for sure. And let's go. See who's here. Let's look at the chat right now. It's Bears versus Bulls, the number one guy right here. It's Daryl Flinch, one of the best in the business. Daryl, thank you so much for joining us every single day. Ramin, let's show this on the screen and then we'll get out of here real quick. It's Daryl, it's Tyrone, it's Joseph, it's Smokey Love is here. It's Fat Figa is in the building as well. Hey, what's up, Nightbot? Yeah, join us at 8:30, says Nightbot. Thank you for that, Nightbot. Tyrone, Joseph, we already talked about this. John, Junior, son, Damien, so on and so forth. Brandon is here. Havana Woody. We say hi to everybody. One of my favorite is Bilbo Bagholder.
I love it.
Adair, anybody catching your eye?
Jamie, thank you to Bears vs. Bulls. Poor Robin Hood. I like that one too. Troy Peterson, trade scientist. I love that one. We have Brandon Townsend, the Piper, Chandler Mezier. We got Chris Nguyen. We have Joseph Brown and the others. I like that. That's a great 2001 horror movie as well.
So many of you. Thank you so much once again for joining, man. Trader TV continues to put up big numbers every single day, and we want to thank you. The number one watched trading show on the planet. So we want to thank everybody for all that YouTube show. I mean, I think there's another cable channel that maybe gets a little bit more viewers than us,
Arguably.
but I'm not sure about that. I think those numbers are rigged. All right, thank you so much to everybody for watching again. This is Trader TV Adara. I'm Trader TV Sean. Did your account get back up yet on X?
I'm still working on that. We will find, if anything, I'm
What
going to
are
have to make
you
a new
tweeting?
account.
Like,
I honestly tweet just charts. My sister even looked it up and she's
hold on a
like,
second. This would be like you tweet all this controversial stuff.
I
So then
know. Oh, so then they come to the account.
And they come to your
yeah, my account is my charts are so controversial that X is like, no one can see them.
They're like, who is this? She's putting down things that nobody else is. So go follow us at Trader TV Adara and at Trader TV Sean. All right, this is a potato.
This is a French fry.
And those are French fries. Join us tomorrow at 8:30. Well, we'll be back. Neil, myself, Sharif, Brendan, Joe, Ramin, maybe, maybe not. Fabian, maybe, maybe not. Andre will be here. Brendan may or maybe, maybe not. I don't know anymore who's going to be here. We have a holiday on Monday.
I keep forgetting.
So I'm thinking like, I never checked the holiday schedule.
I better not be here on Monday. I keep forgetting it's a holiday.
Yeah, don't show up on Monday. Well, if you do, whatever, get to work on some of those charts. You know, you
Yeah, who knows?
Get that account back.
I'm like
activated.
15 minutes away walking. It's not going to be hard.
Yeah, no, what I mean is like, I take I'm not on a 4-day weekend. I don't know if anybody
I
else
don't think anyone is according to our calendar. But
according to our calendar, nobody else is. Okay, all right. Hey, look, we're running late on time. It's 4:34 already. Have a great evening. We'll see you tomorrow at 8:30.
y'all.